Sir.
Dylan Kane.
Thank you for having me, bro. I really appreciate the invitation.
Welcome to Not Your Thoughts, man. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
man.
Valhalla Athletic.
Valhalla Athletic is my gym. That's the one.
Man, I only recently realized that's not your last name,
No.
to be honest.
What, Valhalla?
Valhalla,
Yes.
yeah.
No, that would be a very interesting last name, especially for a tanned guy not coming from Scandinavia. No, Valhalla is basically, people always ask me, it's an interesting name, which I think was good pre-planning for me because it's a good conversation starter. Valhalla is basically the realm in which Scandinavian ancient warriors would go to in their, upon their death on the battlefield. They'd go to Valhalla if they were brave and died fighting.
Oh, is it just a constant battlefield always happening there?
Well, I actually think basically I think the history is, and I am a bit of a mythology nerd. Like not a lot of people know that, but I do have a gym called Valhalla. So if it's not obvious already, guys, I do love history. I do love mythology. But basically Odin, the Allfather, who was king of the gods, he was scared of the prophecy that Ragnarok would occur, which would be the end of all realms, end of all things. So in preparation for this, he had a great hall in the space of Valhalla where ancient warriors would go and die, and then they would be there as an army that he would be able to use in the war of Ragnarok, which would basically be the people, or not the people, but the entities that were warring against him. And so Valhalla itself, now traditionally I think people look at it as, or at least I did when I started the business, I actually looked at it as a nurturing, healing, let's say a space where people went to be whole, or one with their creators, or in that lane. But if you really look at it, it was actually a place where a person was building an army to fortify themselves and stop their own demise. So a little bit of a history lesson there. If you look into more Norse mythology, very strange, a lot of weird stuff, as a lot of ancient human beings were back in their time. They basically just made up whatever suited. So
it was that kind of God gap, which they built the narrative around that.
Correct. But it's interesting to look back in. But no, my gym, I started with the idea that it was actually supposed to be a Pilates and yoga studio. So
all right.
my actual ABN is under Valhalla Yoga and Recovery.
Yeah, so Valhalla Zen as fuck.
Yeah, well, I never even thought of it being a gym. I was a coach at the time. I was at a part of an F45 brand. Or establishment, and I just said to myself, I can do better than this. I can make a better training space than this. I've been training for 10 years. Frankly, F45, I sort of got in to F45 when it was at its peak. It was an absolute juggernaut. F45, the business itself, I mean, you can't say anything bad about it. It was an incredible force. And
So you're saying it's a franchise?
F45?
Yeah.
F45 was a franchise. So
and you're saying you jumped in owning a F45?
No, I didn't own one. I actually worked in one. I had the owner of an F45 hit me up via text, I think. I think he got my number from, because I used to be a PT at Derrimut in Braybrook. So I was actually the only PT on the wall there, it worked really well for me. And
guy?
Yeah, he hit me up and he said, hey man, was wondering if you wanted to do any shifts at this F45, and I was like, yeah. But long story short, it was something that I hadn't been a part of before in terms of a larger community in the training space. I was doing, one-on-one PT, two-on-one PT, and it was amazing. I remember thinking to myself, this is awesome. Group training is really, really cool. Yeah. And it kicked in the door for all of the boutique gyms similar to mine, original brands. There are a few of us out there that are doing really well in the industry, and I think it's a class act to actually pay some respect to who kicked in the door, which is F45. Even though it's in the toilet now, nobody who's really serious with their training is like looking to go to F45. But at the time, it was really groundbreaking. So I started in there. I was a coach in there, and I was basically me, who people know me as Dylan now, the leader of the VA gym. I was basically me in that gym. People wanted to train with me. I brought a lot of great energy in there. You could say that people enjoy doing my classes the most. It's just one of those things. People love the trainer that they gel with the most. Yeah. People are going to come to those classes. So, and I remember thinking, man, I'm actually quite good at building this community thing. I'm quite good at driving people's interest towards training.
Something's happening.
Yeah, man. It was about 2017. So I think I started there mid 2016. Mind you, I was stoked. When the guy messaged me, I was like, this is awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so happy this guy's hit me up because, like I said, that point, the context is F45 was a really good business and it was cool to be a part of. As a PT, it was sort of like your pilgrimage. You're like, oh, now I'm an F45 coach, so I'm stepping into this lane. I'm a group coach and I'm a PT, and it's like another string to the bow type thing. But yeah, basically, I really found myself developing that part of my coaching in that space. And it was about 2017, like I said, at the end of 2017, I started looking into what I wanted to do. My mind had shifted and come out of just, because with PT, you hit a ceiling very quickly. You hit
session-wise? There's only so many hours in a day kind of thing?
Well, both, because as a PT, you sort of start to realize, okay, I'm paying the bills, I'm paying the rent, but where am I going with this? Am I going to just work and sell my time to people forever? Like you quickly realize, I think, if you're aware that, okay, I can't actually do this forever. So I've got to sort of think of creative ways to be in this space, but also innovate and create new pathways for myself. And it was at the end of 2017, I went and looked at an infrared sauna in South Melbourne at the Sunlight and store.
Is that the tube one?
No.
You're just kind of sitting with your... my head was just out. I'm like,
no.
What the fuck is going on?
They do exist, but the ones I'm talking about are like 3-person saunas. They have the little screen in there. Really, at the time, it was new technology. At the time, it was like cutting edge. I paid $12,000 for the infrared sauna there because I was quite bullish, as I am, and I probably didn't do as much research as I could have. So I bought like top-end sauna, not knowing that, and other gym owners will understand what I'm saying, but your sauna is like probably one of the least things used. You need to have it now. At this point in time, 2024, you kind of can't have a space without one because it's the minimum standard. But what you quickly realize is that thing is going to get trashed.
Yeah,
sweat, grime, this and that,
maintenance throughout. Yeah,
so don't overspend. People always tell me, I'm going to get a sauna for home, and I just say, man, spend $1,000. Don't spend more.
Yeah,
because one, you're barely going to use it. People are so like, I'm going to use it. They don't use it. I don't even use mine.
But that's even like, have you ever had like a gym at home? Because with those, any time I have had anything remotely resembling that, even a treadmill back in the day, the novelty wears off so quick, and then I just never end up using it.
That's what I'm saying. And no one, even in COVID, I remember I was leasing out some of my equipment, and people would come back and like, man, I paid you $20 a week for this for like 6 months. I didn't even use it. Still dust on them. So it's hard to train at home. It's very hard to train at home, which is great for me because and other fitness professionals because it keeps us in a job.
Yeah.
So flashing back, it was like now 2018. I went to look at that sauna at the end, like December, and I remember going into the new year going, I am going to open a space. And because I was very fresh in my entrepreneurial spirit, I had sort of a few blind spots. I went to go write a business plan, although I'm not that academically inclined, and I also really detest anything that I have to do on a computer. Okay. I'm a notes guy. I like to write physical notes. I don't even like taking notes in my phone. I like physically writing something. It's a bit messy. It's a bit outdated, but for me, it just works. And I tend to procrastinate if I have to do things online, which is funny because now I edit content and I'm all over Instagram and I'm even doing TikTok and stuff like that. It's just funny how it goes, but you develop those skills and
there's just been a paradigm shift though. Like to play the game, it's one of those things. The medium has just changed.
Yeah.
And this is all new as well. God only knows what happens next with this could be such a temporary thing that we're all just jumping in on this social media buzz.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep up with the language that's being spoken.
Flashing
online,
back really quick, man. I'm sorry to segue, but I want to point out one of my high school teachers, this guy, I can't even remember this guy's name, but he was a pommie. He was an English bloke, right? And he used to get a lot of shit. I went to school in Sunbury, so pretty rough youth around those areas anyway. We used to give this guy a lot of shit about, he would always say, I don't even watch the telly. I watch podcasts. I let it onto my screen and watch podcasts.
Yeah,
this guy was saying this in 2008.
Oof! All right, there you go.
If you really look back, like YouTube was only a thing from like 2006.
Yeah,
and it used to actually just be pictures. Did you know that?
Didn't know that actually.
YouTube used to just be images that you would put up, and then it developed into video, and then it developed into these things. And like podcasts were, it was just a crazy thing. I think Steve Jobs came up with the term podcast. He actually coined the term, and he used to say. And I think he used to sort of like project into his business and his culture that, information will soon just be people talking and blasted onto the internet to millions of people. The radio and TV era are dying, and he was saying that years before. Obviously, he was a visionary, but podcast is the only way that I consume. And I was one of the kids giving this guy shit, but he was before his time.
Fucking loser.
This teacher, oh, God knows his name. He was a science teacher, maths and science, and he's right. He was right, and I don't watch any normal media anymore. It's only podcasts. I
just had the thought, it's pretty interesting how podcasts work, where at the same time we're all losing our attention span. Podcast is this long form media where it's all about attention for a long time. It's interesting that there's a dichotomy where they're both moving far apart, but they're both so popular at the same time. I wonder why that is. Yeah,
I think people who are seeking a real answer to the deep questions go towards podcasts. So, people who are wanting distractions go for the short. They go for the garbage content that's on Instagram or TikTok, basically, to numb themselves, to escape.
Can't stop, bro.
Yeah, bro. Listen, we're all victims to it. Honestly, there's definitely a psychological warfare element to social media where we get hooked, and I think a lot of it's by design. But podcasting it's become so valuable. I don't know if you're into politics or anything like that, but basically this whole election cycle was. In the US, I'm saying.
I was going to wait for a bit later to get into that, but let's go.
Yeah, it's funny. I knew this would sort of come up. I even just I psychologically made a profile of what you looked like. And I go, I'm going to ask this guy if he's a Trump guy. But to finish my point, bro. Basically,
we'll circle back. Don't worry, we're everywhere. It's good.
This whole election cycle was basically revolutionary because you had people in this deep into their 70s and political candidates, and they're all doing podcasts now, and that's basically what turns it.
Exactly right. That's crazy. I mean, well, yeah. My view on Trump is my same view as Andrew Tate.
Yep.
And I don't like either of them. I think it sucks that we're in a state of the world where these are our heroes, but the reality is these are our heroes.
Yeah.
The fact, something in me, the fact that Trump won, and God only knows what's going to happen over the next 4 years. But as soon as Trump won, I felt calm. I'm like, oh my God, normality. I'm like, he's going to bring it all back. He's going to bring back common sense. So over the moon, Trump won. But in saying that, I'm like, wait, this guy is literally a narcissist who does genuinely care about himself more than the country.
Look, I think definitely in a Trump psychological profile, I think you're going to find elements. He's definitely on the scale, but so are a lot of people. So are a lot of the people that provided the most value to the world. Do you think Steve Jobs did it for the function of having something in your pocket, or did you do it to attach himself to the best invention ever made? There's going to be parts of him that attached himself to that and wanted to drive it so hard, sacrifice so much of himself because he wanted the glory. And I think especially when we're younger as men, I think there's a lot of us that have those same tenets to our personality. I think Donald Trump is a billionaire. I think he's a extremely highly successful person with a lot of great networks, a lot of great relationships, and probably thinks highly of himself. And I think he's a patriot. But I can understand why people go, I can't believe this is who we're left with.
But it's
I can understand that.
Yeah. So factually though, don't quote me on the numbers, but there was I think 40 plus of the top generals, I'm calling them generals, the top people closest to him have come out and said, this guy is horrible to work with.
Yeah.
He's been asking us to do things that are unconstitutional, undemocratic. He's pretty much asking them to pledge allegiance to him before the country.
Yeah.
So he has his own narcissistic circle, and reminder, I'm happy he won. But he has this narcissistic circle of it's him before the country. The argument against it is that no president is perfect, hence why there's structures in place to prevent him from doing those things. But I really got into my I've really genuinely, hence Not Your Thoughts podcast, I tried to get into my liberal left brain and tried to get on that algorithm as well. And that's why they're trying to call him a fascist or fascist leaning. You know what I mean? Which I completely disagree with that. It's
I think, honestly, man, I think you should stay away from that part of your brain because that liberal left-leaning brain is often based on an emotional response to things that you might not agree with. And ultimately, I don't think a lot of left liberal thinking people can even define what fascism is.
I can't.
And that's the point. People are happy to say the word fascist and not know an ounce about history to say, well, actually, this guy's already been president. I didn't see any people being rounded up into internment camps. We didn't see any silencing of political opponents. We didn't use violence. We didn't see violence being used as a political weapon. So that's basically the tenets of fascism. A Hitler, Mussolini, these types of people, and it's, if you really compare them, it's actually quite different. So
of course,
be careful of drinking from the well from the liberal mind, because it can be very, very intoxicating to think, these people are evil, but look, at the end of the day, I think if you really look at history, which is something that a lot of us just don't do, Trump was president. Nothing bad happened. No new wars were started. The economy did great, and there was a whole machine working against him. So, look, I'm not out here I do love Donald Trump in the sense that when compared to everything else out there, at least there's a guy who's up there being himself.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
if anything else, if that's all you can do is just be unapologetically yourself, I'm going to go with that guy. And I do believe that he has America first. And I look at a guy like that, and I think to even be in that position, the amount of good you must do for people. To circle back to your thing about the general thing, I know there's people that say he's horrible to work with, this and that. Look, the guy's got billion-dollar companies, got massive. I watched a podcast the other day where his son was talking about how the minimum time that most people have worked for Trump Enterprise, the building, the different businesses that they have under their umbrella, is like 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
It's hard to retain good people for a long time. So if you really want to look, I think the proof is in the pudding when it comes to, it's hard to organize businesses, which most lefties don't even do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so it's like people look at it from the outside, but unless you've really been there and done it, it's something that you need to look at deeply before you go, this guy's this guy's that. Yeah, but look, I like him compared to Kamala. I thought Kamala was the worst thing ever.
Well, the thing with like the different, like the whole Democratic Party or whatever, anytime they spoke, I just felt like I'm getting gaslit. Like we can argue with this or that, but just zone into yourself and just look at how they can't answer one journalist question.
Yes.
Or like they just go around, they're so far removed from my style of communication. Their whole thing was Trump bad. There was no substance, no core of that individual, of that party. It was just Trump bad.
Yeah.
Now, some people would make the argument that that's enough. Like Trump bad, you want to go to the other way. But I don't know. How do you then appreciate what you're saying? The reason why I dip into that well is to make sure I'm not othering the others and getting a bit tribal.
100%.
How do you stop an echo chamber from your views of the world then?
I think by looking into the substance of what people say, as you say, look, the name of your podcast made me think when you had reached out to me, I looked through and it was like, not your thoughts, which psychologically, I love that. For some reason, it made me think like that's a really great name of a podcast because there was a quote by a guy, pretty well known in the psychiatric psychology realms. Not that I'm like super well read, but these are things that I hear on podcasts and stuff. And basically, this guy, I think it's Friedrich Nietzsche, he had said that people don't have ideas, ideas have people. And so like not your own thoughts or not your thoughts is a fantastic thing because oftentimes people don't know why they believe certain things. So how do I make sure that I'm not consuming too much from one side, drinking from the well that can be poisonous on both sides? Because far right is extreme fascism, far left is communism. Both of these basically end up in genocide and famine and starvation lines and bread lines. And so basically, how do you make sure? Well, I always say this to people as well, like, look at what the face value is. Listen to the content. So you can listen to, Donald Trump, he loves to talk, so there's lots of podcasts and stuff, but at least he's doing them. You can see
there's a capacity to.
Well, there's a 3-hour conversation with him and Joe Rogan. Like if you put Hitler or Mussolini or Putin in a room with Joe Rogan, I imagine that podcast is probably going to be very heavily censored and orchestrated in a sense. Man, this guy's riffing for 3 hours. He's talking just
Didn't
like we are now.
Didn't you see Tucker with Putin? That was really good.
Sorry, bro, I did, and I should take that back about Putin because I think he is very misunderstood, and I think also like most of the media is condemning a guy who's basically just defending his country. It's like there's a whole political story there, and we don't have to go into that. But basically, like, it goes to show, man, that the value of podcasts and the value of the landscape that we have today is immense because you can make your own mind up. And I think that was the biggest problem with the Democratic run in this election was that they were trying to force an idea down your throat. They were comparing rallies to Nazi fascist rallies that happened in the 30s. Like, it's ridiculous. And people go, hang on, is Donald Trump Hitler? Because, like, why would even Joe Rogan be sitting down with this guy? Like, where's the mass murder? Where's the genocide? Where's the, the collection of people? And it's not there. That's the point. So you have to sort of look really deeply into what people say. So, okay, so if this side is lying about this candidate and they want so badly to bury him using the justice system.
Just character assassination,
Character assassination, all of these things dragging him in the media up. They want to bury this guy so badly, but everything is not working. There must be something wrong with this viewpoint. And then you basically look at simultaneously, well, what are you guys doing? Because you're actually in the seat of power now and everything seems to be getting shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and why are you promising, we're going to do this? It's like, wait, do the thing. You're in power. Do the thing.
Exactly.
That's why I was not processing any of it.
Yeah. Have you always been into politics?
I've never been into politics, to be honest. I fucking hated politics. Yeah. Like, I feel like it got foisted onto me.
Yeah.
To be, not hated, but like, because it's interesting, but it's only interesting when I view it as entertainment.
Yeah, well, it is. A lot of it's a circus at the moment. But a lot of people, I find, I've got some of the people close to me, we're interested in these things. We've been talking about these things for years. But I think since COVID, a lot of people have sort of woken up to the fact that, hang on, if I don't actually understand what's going on, I'm sort of going to be a slave to what's going on at all times. I think that was a turning point for a lot of people because people I used to speak to, they really didn't know anything about local, or not that I know anything about local, but I mean like local as in the Premier. Did you even know?
I have no idea,
Did you even know who the Premier? I don't even know who the Premier is right now.
I don't either. I took a while to know who our Prime Minister was, to be honest.
The last Premier I know that I was aware of was Dan Andrews, and it only became relevant to me when this guy was on the news every day spouting about how
when he was more powerful than our federal government.
Correct. So, but I say to people, like, I speak to people all the time and they say, I just don't care. Like, even my girlfriend, she's just like, I hate this stuff. I don't care. But I look at it as, well, I'd rather know. I'd rather have an informed opinion, and that way at least I can understand and not be misled,
Yeah, but even I agree, but my concern is we're moving into this memification of existence where it's just red, blue, you, me. Everyone's literally on a binary of thought. And then I feel like that's so removed from so many people, and we all know this, and I'm repeating things that you've heard before, but people you'd be arguing with online, if you bumped into them into the street or anything, you have so much more in common than you think. That's my issue with politics, is it's kind of making us think we're more against each other than we really are.
Yeah.
That in that kind of light, that's why I try not think about politics. I try just ingrain with the people around me and just kind of be decent to the people around me.
Yeah, that's the best way to be, man. Look, you don't have to be so politically active in your mind or be tribal in the way that you think to be a good person. Like, you don't have to have such strong opinions. Me, the type of person I am, bro, I'm not a fence sitter. So any time in my life, I'm an extremely decisive person, and whether it's right or wrong, man, I'll make the decision.
Yes, and I love that so much.
And I make wrong decisions. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but I want to be the person that I actually am in control, and I think the way I think because of me. And people say to me, "Oh, but didn't Donald Trump do this, or didn't this person do this, or didn't you?" And I just think to myself, well, I'm informed on it and you're not. And I understand that you're not, but at least I'm making an informed decision rather than going along the river that's just taking me in the direction that it's taking me. So I've got an 8-month-old daughter. I plan to have like extensive conversations and help her to understand you cannot go out into the world and converse with people and just be a talking head. Because I truly believe that surety in the core of who you are and where you stand on things is a part of what makes a person magnetic. So why did Donald Trump just win in a landslide? I mean, if you look at the map, it was an absolute landslide. It wasn't even close.
Crazy.
So why is that? Well, because people are magnetized to someone who at least thinks that they're doing the right thing.
Mm.
So there's something about this of like, I think this is what's best for the country, and here's why.
Yeah.
Following through and just aggressively pursuing the best possible case. I think that's what Donald Trump does, and I think that you can only do that if you actually start to understand deep within, why do I think these things? You know, why even now, like what we're talking about, a lot of the Australian listeners are going to be like, what the fuck? I didn't know this guy was actually a political enthusiast. But I just, ever since I sort of became an awakened person and started to look into different elements of why people believe things, and then I figured out that I actually had a huge hunger for the truth. So going back to the podcast thing, man, like truth seekers, that's who actually watch podcasts. And you find like, why did Jordan Peterson blow up? Like,
Yeah.
have you listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson?
I've seen him 3 times.
Wow, man.
And I missed the 4th one, which was the first time he came by like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I've been on
So
that
you
buzz.
know, you know about Friedrich Nietzsche. You know
Yeah.
about the huge amount of reading that he's done on the archipelagos, as in like the Russian gulags, and
he has mentioned. Yeah, I haven't retained any of it, but I've definitely heard that.
Yeah, so
yeah.
like basically, man, he's done the lessons through history, and he's talking about it in modern times. Going, if we're not careful with how we're censoring people and doxing people and basically cancelling people, we're going to end up in this super lefty state where there is Big Brother, where we are on the bread lines, when we're feeding off the government, when we don't have any freedom anymore. We don't elect people into power. People just take power.
Yeah.
And that all happens when you go too far, you know. And
But an important point he made, I did his personality course online. Yeah,
wow.
loved it, bro. Had my notebook. I literally a couple of weeks ago just was reading through it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But in that, a lot of a person's political. I could have just used any word, but I'm trying to find the word.
That's okay.
Inclination.
Political
inclination, is really based on someone's personality.
Absolutely.
But a point he made as well is like you need the way he explained it was like if you want to move your hand like this, or keep it as still as you can, that's fine. But if you add a resistance or a pressure, that's when you get the most still, stable kind of movement.
Yeah.
And the point he's making is you need the tension of the left and the right to actually kind of synthesize and unify in that sense.
So some people will say like the right is like the brake, whereas the left is like the accelerator. It's the progression of society. So it's great that we have a political left, because during earlier time in history, say like the 60s or 70s, they were actually the anti-war people. They wanted to progress past wars. We don't want to spend our money, our tax money on wars. We don't want to do that. We want peace in the world. We don't want to see people die. What an amazing idea. Like the fact that was actually an idea, and they got rid of JFK, they assassinated him. He was basically anti-war. He wanted to get people out of war. They killed him, and that way of thinking has slowly shifted towards the political right, and now it's the political right who don't want to be involved.
There was like just a paradigm shift where nothing made sense anymore, and then we don't need to get into Israel-Palestine either, but that added another twist, and I'm just like, what's left? What the fuck is right? Who am I? What is going on?
Yeah,
it just overload of everything.
What percentage of the population do you think can define what the political right is and the political left is, if you had to put a number on it?
Like in today's current,
just today,
accurately
or just loosely.
I think 100% would have an opinion, because 100% everyone thinks they're right.
Yeah, but not correct and false. What I'm saying is, there is a political left, and that's the Democratic Party, for instance, and then there's a political right, which you would say is the modern Republican.
Yeah.
Here in Australia, we have like the Labor Party. That's the left.
I don't even know, bro. I'm so detached from Australian.
The Liberals in Australia, they're more considered to be they're very close to centre mostly, except for some of the parts of the establishment which are like far out there with crazy social plans to there are parts of the government and parts of society, unfortunately, that are pushing some pretty radical ideas, stuff to do with young people in schools and what they should be learning and what they should be taking in.
If I could just say it so I make sure I'm with you. As I understood it initially, Labor was for the people and Liberal was for businesses.
Yeah, that's what they'd have you believe. Exactly.
Yeah, and then it did shift to, and this is just my view based on what happened in COVID. My head went, all right, Labor is Chinese-esque, therefore communist-esque, therefore they're moving to the left. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
As well? Yeah. Okay.
So any established way of thinking that is sliding towards being similar to China, who have millions of Uyghur Muslims in slave trade right now, who have not a free market. The government basically owns everything, and they regulate everything, and basically there is no free enterprise there. They'd have you think, oh no, this is a free place. You know, we've got businesses, but it's not a free place. Everybody knows that. So anyone who really saddles up next to the Chinese is not someone who understands what communism really is, because ultimately you are, if you know, Dan Andrews was having like private planes coming in during COVID that had like Chinese officials and stuff like that. Like they don't share our way of life. I'm a proud Australian, and I'm happy to say that this country has afforded me, my family, everybody I know, amazing opportunity. It's going to be a shithole in 25 years if we go towards the way China is. And you had Dan Andrews talking in COVID times, talking about how I admire the way that China has handled the lockdowns. What do you admire, man? The locking down of apartment buildings, the killing of animals, people jumping off their buildings. Like, what is it that you admire? The slaves, like the non-free market. So we have to be careful. There's nobody in the Liberal Party from what I can see, especially in Victoria. I'm not so well read on other states, but from what it seems like right now, most people would agree that we are the most left-leaning state. We have the most progressive social strategies and policies here in Victoria. A lot of people are struggling to make ends meet because of these policies. Like Victoria is by far, maybe Sydney's up there, but Victoria is by far one of the hardest places to live now. It used to be the most livable city 7 years in a row.
That's true.
And now it is so hard to get by. People making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. That used to be a lot of money. It's not a lot of money.
But even more is not a lot of money.
It should, but it should be. It should be.
Yeah.
It should be a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, like how much money do you need to make just to make sure that everybody in your family is good? It shouldn't be 150,000. Government can help that, but I mean, listen, I'm not going to run for parliament or anything like that. I'm just a quiet observer and
a professional noticer.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. But look, you know, the value of you, me, people like us, man, that are sort of trying to move laterally through the system that we have. I mean, you got to play your hand. This is the hand we have. This is the state we live in. I love Melbourne. I love everyone here. I love the city that I'm from, and I'll always put on for it. And I don't want to leave here, but you have to play your hand. This is the people that we've got leading.
I was ready to leave during COVID. So I spoke to my family. I'm like, I think I need to. I don't think I could do this.
A lot of people were, man.
Yeah,
a lot of people were. I was training at that time. Allegedly, it was against the rules.
Yeah,
allegedly. I still had
the
people.
9 p.m. Man, did you? I was going out past 9 p.m. 5 kilometers. I didn't give a fuck. Yeah, bro. But I'll admit, I was fucking shitting myself.
Yeah,
there was a real predator-prey dynamic.
Definitely.
And like even because I was doing it like from the bat, slowly people started jumping on. But at one point there was like only like 5 cars on the freeway. Bro, I loved this moment. At one time, it was like only 10 o'clock. I stopped my car in the middle of the freeway, usually just jamming, opened the door, got out the car, and I just stood there. And it was a real I Am Legend moment for me, at least. There was no one around. I didn't plan to talk about this. Yeah, but I was just like, there's no one. Nothing exists. Where is the world? Yeah.
It was an insane time. And guys, just to make sure, the man allegedly did this. He didn't break the law, and he definitely stayed within his 5K.
Yes, of course.
This was a freeway within 5K.
I don't get tackled putting my fucking bins out.
But even that, man,
sorry, on that point though, when I was on the freeway, bro, if there was other cars, you could feel it. We were all like sheep, and I don't mean like followers sheep, although but cattle. Everyone's driving next to each other because no one wants to get picked by the fucking predator police. Yeah. So even driving with just complete anxiety, you could feel it in the fucking air. Yeah. And weird times.
There's such a fatigue talking about this type of thing. Most Melburnians want to forget. And
I don't. No way, bro.
I think it's important to talk about these things. I don't mind it. I know a lot of the guys around me, we actually get emotionally triggered and get fired up about talking about these things because we're value providers. The men in my community, in my immediate community, we all put on for our families. We all hustle for our families. And to have the police targeting us, training in a gym, which 2 months ago was legal, but because now there are mandates now that it's all come out, and it's not even anything. It was a flu, and there's nothing. You forced a vaccine, you closed down. Like my business suffered immensely. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. I spent 2 years basically paying rent $80,000 a year with no income other than JobKeeper. So, and I missed out on stimulus packages, $10,000 here, $15,000. I got one $5,000 grant. Now they were giving out grants. I missed out on one because I wasn't a part of WorkSafe. I didn't even have any employees. And they said, well, you don't qualify. It's like, well, what does qualify?
Yeah.
Because I've got people who are subcontractors. I've got a whole community. I know that my space is a positive impact for the community. And I didn't qualify for the money, but a kid working 12 hours a week at Macca's was getting JobKeeper.
Fuck me. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like who are you looking after? Who are you bolstering? What part of the community is more valuable? Fast food or an elite training space?
Literally, man.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And
Or I would see like literally this, I will not, there's so many things, and I get fired up as well, man, because if you rolled over, I mean, I'm not judging anyone for it, but you didn't feel the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah.
If you from the moment, for me, I'm kind of just projecting, said, I don't accept the term new normal. There's no new normal. There's just normal.
Yeah.
As when I held on to that, felt like the world's shifting and I was like getting left behind, or we were getting left behind. Man, I saw, it was a fucking crazy. 3 workers, won't say the ethnicity, literally, they had just wipes. 1, 2, 3. There's like 3 handlebars on the train. Each one of them had a wipe on one different handlebar and just walking like this. Like this. I'm like, that's where the money's going. I saw a fucking poster. I swear to God, I should have taken a photo. I'm kicking myself for not telling people to put like safety gear on to use the escalator. And I sound like I'm lying, and I really wish I took a photo.
It's disturbing.
I just remember being fucking mind-blowing.
Everyone remembers, man. Everybody watching this will remember. It was absurd. Yeah, I still see people wearing dishwashing gloves, like using a trolley at Aldi. And yes, I shop at Aldi.
Yeah, man, we like Aldi, man.
Aldi, man. Love Aldi. But it's bizarre. People were bizarre. And I'll tell you, it was the people who go, I don't care about politics. I don't want to talk about it. That's exactly why it happened.
Exactly right.
And if we had a population full of people that go, I'm not standing for this. It's not right. I know what's morally right. And unless you can start to qualify why we need to do these draconian rules, I'm not going to take it. If we had a bunch of very strong-minded people, but the reality is we don't, man.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge population. And I think you'll find, you mentioned before about the personality test. I think you'll find that people who have a conservative mindset leaning towards anti-government, let's say, insulation and security mindset. So like for instance, I don't look to the government to pay my wages. I don't go to the government and rely on Centrelink. That's not a dig at anybody who does it. But what I'm saying is that's a part of how they control. And it's like, well, if you want your government benefits, then you better stay indoors. Well, that's going to keep 40% of the population indoors straight away.
That was the argument. I don't want to lose my job, my mortgage.
That's right. And so if you had a bunch of very strong-willed people that were valuable to society, valuable to their families, and valuable to their inner communities, and they all said no, it wouldn't have happened the same way. Look at every other state. Every other state didn't go through what we went through. There is a I talk about this all the time, but there is a shift in the mentality here. We're like the California of America, because we have this super left-leaning ideology that's sort of implanted itself here, where we go, we want to get rid of negative gearing on houses because we need to make it affordable for the average Australian to come up. It's not because people can negative gear their house that you can't afford it. It's because the governments have shit policies that make everything more expensive. They have shit trade deals where they basically have sold out our energy sector to the rest of the world. We buy coal, brown coal, back from China, who we sell it to. Why do we buy our energy from a place where we sell it to them and then we buy it back? It's ridiculous.
I had no idea.
But no one knows these things, and that's okay. It is what it is. Not everybody is going to be a political nerd like me, but we have to start looking a little bit deeper. It's like you don't care about anything, right? You don't care about anything to do with politics or taking responsibility for your life. Then you're going to have the wool pulled over your eyes constantly. Yeah. So, I mean, look, even though I know, I'm gonna state a fact here, I can't change it. Yeah, I can't change the government, and we're never going to have a figure like a polarizing Donald Trump come up out of here. Aussies are just too
docile.
We are. We're docile people. We should be right. It is what it is. I'll just get the jab. I'll just do that, mate. Yeah. Hey, listen, no judgment. Anybody who have to get the jab, no judgment. But it is what it is, and we just have to be real with. Okay, well, you don't care. That's fine. You got to don't care all the way.
Or at least say they pulled one over you. Yeah. Like what gets me is people just double down. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna I was right, you were wrong. No, we're in this together. We all got fucked. Yeah. Whether you got the jab or not, we all got fucked. Yeah. Can we just agree on that?
That's a really good
At a
point.
bare minimum.
That's a really good
Just
point.
so something happens, because not if the next one happens, when the next one happens.
Yeah.
Let's try align reality. And if we can't from now retrospectively say, hey, we all got fucked, we're fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I hope this sort of conversation for people isn't triggering, because I know a lot of people that have like a cognitive dissonance from the attitudes they had during COVID to where they are now. Like a lot of people were like, just get the jab, and then 2 years later you ask them like, do you still feel like, you know, people who didn't get the jab
they're like,
don't
"Don't
deserve
talk
medical?
about
Yeah,
it."
they're like, oh, I never said that.
Yes,
And
bro.
it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, because you felt pretty strongly about it. I remember talking to you at like, you know, when we didn't have lockdown, I remember coming to your house for a barbecue and you were pretty,
But I think our role as well is to, and it's hard not to, because every fucking fiber in my body wants to say, fuck you, I was right.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, man.
You all turned against me.
Yeah.
There was one point, and I'm getting a bit emotional, but
it's good.
there was one point, you had to find the others.
Yeah.
And until you did, there was no one you could talk to. So fuck you. But like, sorry, the point I was trying to make just then was, I can't present that energy, because if you give them a sense of, hey, I'm going to put it over you for being wrong.
Oh, they'll just defend. They'll just
exactly.
get defensive. And you know what? The act of not bringing it up and like saying to people, hey, you were wrong, I was right, that's called grace. So you give people grace and you go, and internally you just have to, you've got to like owning these businesses that I've been a part of and still operating now, like you've got to get really good at vibrating at other people's frequencies. So I know when I'm looking at someone and talking to someone, like people will go to me during this election cycle, people will overhear something and then they'll jump into the conversation, say between 2 or 3, 4 people, which is great. They'll say like, oh, but you know, Kamala, she's like a gun, yeah? And I just think to myself, I'm not going to roast this person and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would you say that, man? Are you dumb? Like,
Fucking idiot.
that's what the internal person wants to say, you know, but like you give this person grace and you go, oh, it's not my opinion. But at the same time, you just got to give people grace, because not everyone is a political nerd. Not everyone knows the ins and outs. And like I said, their thoughts aren't their own. They don't know where it comes from.
100%,
So you've just got to look at them and recognize that. And then you've got to take it upon yourself to be the person that goes, okay, there's no point. I'm not going to try to change your mind because I've got better things to do.
Yeah,
So
and it's not going to happen.
You operate that. I'll operate like this. And but having said all that, there's no place I'd rather live than Australia. I have to say, and I always say this was one of the redeeming parts of my experience and you know, being out in the world, was like when my partner gave birth to my daughter, we went to Sunshine. Joan Kerner is the hospital, Sunshine Hospital. It's a world-class hospital. People who work there know it's a fantastic place, had a lot of money invested into it, and we were treated like king and queen. We were treated so well, especially my missus. I mean, the nurses didn't give a fuck about me, and why should they? But like, basically, the hospital system is an amazing thing. I know not everybody has the same experience, and there's going to be bad experiences with every single thing, but I was very shocked at how well my partner was treated.
Awesome.
How she was attended to, how we were able to stay at the hospital for 7 days after giving birth. They didn't even kick us out. We just were like,
sorry, this is post-COVID?
This is post-COVID.
That surprises me, because the quality of everything dropped post-COVID.
I know, man. And I just have to be fair and say that I was impressed. I know that nurses are overworked. I know people are underpaid. I know there's not enough, which is funny, because like, you know, they were supposed to be the front line, and then they get shit pay. They don't get paid overtime, or their overtime is a lot
like
of the time
teachers
on
as
their own
well.
money. Exactly, bro. Which is, it's funny because the government want you to act in a certain way, and yet when it's time to receive that value back, they're like, oh, we don't know you. We don't know you. It's like you could, now I think they've made nursing much more accessible for people, which is great, because midwives, nurses, these people are amazing people. The vulnerability of a woman when they're giving birth it's absolutely as open and vulnerable as you get. And to experience it firsthand and have people genuinely catering to a person out of sheer care and we're going to do this, we're going to make this happen for you, this is going to happen, your baby's going to come out healthy. It is emotional. It's emotional for me, because like there were many times where I would just be having tears in my eyes because of how raw and emotional the thing is. So I was left after that experience going, newfound respect for midwives.
Awesome, man.
Amazing people. Newfound respect for the doctors and the nurses. And I had lost faith when we got rid of bulk billing, which sounds cheap as fuck. But
No, I'm still mad about it.
when we got rid of bulk billing, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why don't we have bulk billing? Like, why do
Yeah.
we have to pay? We are a super wealthy country. We are a super valuable and innovative country in this world. Why do Australians pay to go to the doctors? It makes no sense. But that one experience at Sunshine Hospital restored my faith. I'm going, okay, it's not every institution or establishment that's been corrupted. The hospital was still good. And it gave me that faith back. But, I think...
But sorry, while on that point, like, I think that still lines up with the point which now post-COVID, you were dealing with the individuals and they're lovely people.
Yeah.
But what happened during COVID was the individuals had their agency removed.
Yeah.
Even doctors, cops, everything became this like numb, mechanical, non-humanistic interaction where you're not dealing with the person anymore.
Yeah.
And even the doctors, which even if, I'm going to say things that I can't specifically pick out at this point in time, but I remember seeing something that essentially said, even if a doctor disagrees, by law, they need to agree with the consensus of what the doctors are saying about COVID.
Yeah.
So everyone was just removed from even being an individual, which is why I feel like it kind of went downhill.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think the woke mind virus is commonly called now, is that whole thing that everyone needs to get jabbed. It was this thing where you have to wear masks, social distancing. Anybody who disagreed, that was the start of the cancel era.
Yeah.
And a lot of the political commentators, a lot of the sort of people in leadership now on the right, on the political right, or the conservative movement, or people like Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, truth speakers, Joe Rogan, people like this are now calling that whole thing. Because if basically you believe that everyone should wear masks, I can basically tell you the other 11 things that you think.
It's crazy.
You will also think that people need to be jabbed and they need to submit to having an app that allows people to see whether they've been jabbed. Since when? Should we have documentation on us all the time that tell you what other viruses you have? It's ridiculous.
That was like
it makes no sense.
Yeah, in COVID, I remember just walking out of the house without my wallet, which I don't mind, like, or phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, I need my wallet. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why do I need to feel like I need to walk around with my ID?
People were totally fine with that. They were like, yep.
But I don't think people noticed. You know what I mean? I don't think people noticed because I went to do it, but I caught myself. I'm like, wait, that wasn't my thought.
Yeah.
Since when was my thought you need to grab your phone or wallet?
Yeah, it's scary, man. And if people aren't careful, like, people don't care. Like, I don't care about politics.
Yeah.
I don't care about this and that. They don't care until they're in handcuffs because they put up an Instagram post.
I got handcuffed for not wearing my mask.
You did?
Yeah. Fucking
amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Amazing. It's 100% an incredible thing.
I'm proud of it. Yeah. Fucking proud of it.
Yeah.
It was like, because I was on the train and they put your mask on, and I was eating a banana, and I'm like, nah, mate, just eating. And then he'd gone and come back, and then there was like nothing left, but I was like still eating it. He was like, oh, put your mask on. I'm like, man, I'm eating. He was like, no, you got to put it on. I'm like, what's the rule? What is there a time frame that I can eat in?
Right.
What's the rule about how long I'm allowed to eat?
Yeah.
It's arbitrary.
It's bizarre. It was bizarre. And it really triggered that power tripping in people who just mostly want to be left alone.
That was it, bro.
Yeah.
That was what you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
I'm pretty recluse. Funny enough, I got a podcast now. I'm like,
Yeah.
now I'm kind of got a network,
Yeah.
but I'm relatively to myself.
Yeah.
And what happened during COVID was everyone was coming into my bubble, and I'm like, just stay out, just go away, just leave me alone, And it was like you weren't allowed. Like, at what point? And again, I know I'm saying the things and
yeah, but that's what life is.
Yeah, it's at what point were we ever forced to give someone our medical information?
Yeah.
What happened to privacy?
That's what I mean. That's what they do in China. And so people go,
Exactly,
I don't care.
yeah.
And then suddenly Australia's China. And it's like, you can't have that happen, which you can't have that happen.
Yeah, with the birth, which congratulations,
Thank
by the
you,
way.
bro. I appreciate it.
And hopefully it was all safe and healthy
It was
process.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic for me. I'm sure
Yeah.
my missus, she has something, a little bit of a different opinion of
Yeah.
it. But mostly the fact that we came out with a beautifully healthy daughter, a beautifully healthy mother, and everybody was all good. I can't complain.
Awesome. Did they ask you what gender you want your child to be?
No, they didn't.
Okay, because
No.
I know someone who had that experience,
Yeah.
and obviously the males like just fucking lost it.
I will tell you, man,
Yeah.
that there was a trans doctor,
Okay, all right.
which is incredible. And I'm going to be very careful of my words here because I don't want to offend anybody. Not that I ever try to, but basically I was looking at it like this is interesting.
Mm.
There's a trans doctor, which is interesting because it's like, in one sense, the person is completely different to what you would say has been normal for a long time. Basically, there's been men and women, and then there was a person transitioning while being a doctor whose whole professional career is based in the fact that
objective
biology,
reality.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I was looking at it going, and power to them. Great, you're a person who can decide their own destiny. I hope the government never comes in and says that you can't do this, you can't be yourself, because that would be now if the government came out and said, hey, listen, the fact that you want to be transitioning into another gender, we're not allowing that. It'd be the worst thing ever. But the fact that I didn't want to get the vaccine, that made me someone who was a target to say the government or the people that were the authority figure. So it's fine when it's one way. Like,
pandemic of the unvaccinated.
right. So it's fine when it's one way, but it's not fine when it's the other way, and that's the problem. That's why it's an issue. So this person was a fantastic doctor. She or he, I'm actually not sure in which way they were going. That's the point. Yeah, it's strange. That's why it's so hard. But I respect this person. I appreciate this person. Thank God they were there because they helped.
Yeah.
And but I just I couldn't help but notice. I'm like, this person has subjected themselves to a topic, medicine, which is fundamentally rooted in fact or non-fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there this many genders or this many? How many
Well,
ones and
what
zeros
genitals are you looking at? Like,
Correct.
yeah.
So I have to say, we weren't asked basically if my daughter wanted to be a female or not, because I felt that, and I do feel that birthing room is one of the most realest places you'll ever be. So there's very little room for the mental gymnastics that we often run into these days when talking about gender. Like, listen, that's a female.
Yeah.
You can tell everything to do with this baby is feminine because of the rules that we have. You know, that basically we understand. The same as, like, I watched this great video the other day, and it was basically one of these like blue hair dyed people who are very vocal and very loud and very misinformed, and talking about how her cat loves these treats and whatever to do with the cat. And then they said, oh, and she loves pink because she's a girl. And then there was this moment where, like, they slowed the video down, and she said she loves pink because it's a girl. And then she sort of looked to the left, and she's looking up, and you could see the wheels turning in her head, going like, hang on, did I just assume my cat's gender? How do I know? You know what I mean? They run into the wall of reality, and it's funny to watch people do that. I love watching those clips. I find them incredibly entertaining. When people who are just they're such ideologues, where they're so caught up in the mindset of that, you know, everything's everything and nothing's said anymore. And then they're like, oh, hang on, wait, like,
I call it a toxic compassion.
Toxic compassion.
Yeah. Where you're
I've heard that.
or maybe, sorry, I thought it's come from my head, but it's, they think they're doing the right thing by not offending.
Yeah.
But it's like, how far have we fallen if as you just said, running into the wall of reality? Yeah.
Well, and it's going to keep happening to people. And the fact is, you can't keep changing. They keep running into it and then changing that one wall. And they're like, cool. So now we've got a female crossing man in many places, because the crossing man light that comes up on walkways, that's sexist by having just a male outline of a figure.
But no, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
What do you appreciate about it?
That it's relatively 1-for-1 male female of a population. As a man, I don't feel like you're taking anything away from me by making it a female.
I think it's a ridiculous thing to even suggest or come up to when we have mass homelessness, we have mass mental illness, we have mass expenditure going to things that we don't actually want in this country.
All right.
No, but it's funny.
No, you're right.
It's
You're bang
like,
on.
and you're fighting against this. Like, why even like there are signs on the Maribyrnong where I go sometimes for walks or whatever I'm doing there, and there are signs that say racism not welcome. Now, these signs are probably every 50 meters or 100 meters. And just for the people at home watching this, guys, racism is not good. And in case you needed a sign to remember that, like, how much money did we spend on these signs to say who is walking around spouting racism, really? And when do you run into that? When?
Yeah. And who is racist and going and seeing the sign and then going, you know what?
Yeah.
Now I'm not racist anymore.
That's right. So you know what, man? I've been living my life wrong. I've been really harsh on these people. That sign did it all. So ludicrous things like that. But, you know, adults got together and they said, let's do this. Let's put signs out there to end. It's like,
But sorry,
What?
you say adults, and a big critique I have, like we're relatively young, but I'm starting to realize that I'm getting more comfortable, regardless of the people's age, being the adult in the room.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what we've lost.
Yeah.
The adults are scared to tell the kids no. And now we have children in parliament. We have children making these decisions.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all left-leaning people have a childish mentality, but it kind of maps closely, like hyper-emotional, kids are the narcissists of the world. You know how
Yeah,
kids
that's
blame
right.
themselves for everything.
Like I said, we're
know?
often more narcissistic, and then we grow up, and you start to separate yourselves. Like, actually, no, I don't like the way I
Exactly.
sound.
Or I was wrong,
Yeah.
And I feel like, not again, I don't want to clump all liberal people because I have left-leaning friends and liberal friends. I want to keep it respectful, but
Yeah, of course, bro.
there is something that you can see, transfers. And I personally feel like a lot of it is this pretty childish behavior when it
Yeah.
comes to emotional topics.
And often not really thought out. Like, are you considering the fact that, so like one of the biggest tenets of like a left-leaning person is that they want open borders. So this is a huge thing that people who are conservative thinking or right-leaning, they disagree because, and I used to think, there was a senator who had a really good speech. The guy was a great orator. He spoke very well. And I remember watching this in like 2011. He was basically speaking in Parliament saying, Australia is like fruit salad. Each part of the fruit salad, the watermelon, the honeydew melon, the pineapple, these are all great by themselves. But you know what? They're better together.
Okay.
And so and he was making a case for open borders. And I shared it, thinking I was a really cool, 19-year-old guy who had like a worldview and all this. So I was, who knows what the fuck I was doing? Probably channeling some of that narcissistic side, projecting my opinion as if it fucking matters.
Or there was a hot chick at,
Bro, listen. But now I look at it and go, hang on, no, I love Australia the way it is. I don't want to have 50 million people that come from places that they don't share the same values as us and they're not being able to integrate. It doesn't mean that we can't have any.
Exactly, it's Australia.
My dad immigrated here from Indonesia, a third world country that basically didn't share anything that looked similar to what Australia was. So am I anti people moving here? Absolutely not. But my dad, he came here, he didn't lean on the government. He worked straight away and he worked here for 40 years and then he left back to Indonesia. Now, he did that because of the way that it is here, it's quite expensive. He wanted to go on another adventure. He's like the type, musician, really creative type of guy. He wanted to go out and leave this like work because, Melbourne in particular, but Australia in general is very work orientated.
course.
Around the world, people know Australians as very hard workers, and we have a huge work culture.
Yeah,
here.
agreed.
Now he went back because he's not from here. He's not really that way. He's like, nah, man, I want to chain smoke cheap cigarettes and I want to play guitar. I want to do this and I want it to be hot and muggy, and that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Now, I want people who want to come here and work hard and build their lives here, but we can't just open up to everything because our way of life will be destroyed.
It's such a logical jump to go from, yes, agreed, as Vivek says, melting pot, fruit salad.
Right.
We are a fruit salad, sure. To jump from there to therefore open borders,
Right.
there's no coherence there.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
And that's the thing. They go, well, it's the compassionate argument. We're trying to help people who are escaping really bad circumstance. And it's like, yeah, man, a lot of people are trying to escape it. There is a system.
But Douglas Murray, makes this point, like, are they escaping circumstance like war, which even that's its own conversation?
Yeah.
Or do they just want more economic opportunity here?
Right.
We
Everyone knows
can't
it's
just
better here.
grant everyone economic opportunity.
That's right. And then have homelessness here. Like for me, and this is one thing that I think Donald Trump has been really vocal on, especially with the veterans and stuff like that, because a lot of their homelessness is people who have been in their military. And
That's so sad.
which is crazy.
Yeah,
It's absolutely crazy that that's the case. But I don't think we have the same portion of homeless people here that were in the military or anything, but they're still Australians. They're still people that are here on our land who are basically in really shit situations. You have people from the indigenous population that are really struggling and they come to the big cities and they, like a place like Melbourne, we don't have as much.
Yeah.
But you go to a place like Brisbane or Queensland, even like the further north you go, basically you see, and it's like, why don't we have more opportunity for these people who are here already? They're not people coming from, other places throughout the world and trying to get a better situation, which is fine, but we have to come through the legal processes.
Yeah.
But why don't we invest, instead of going open borders, there's heaps of people here struggling, and that's one of the issues with the left is like, we want to help everyone, and in that you help no one. And that's the thing, like you can't please everyone, otherwise you please no one. So again, coming back to that decisiveness, we can't help every single person on earth, but we can help a few. And you have to be, life is like you mentioned,
Well, why
dichotomies.
would you fix the burning house next door if your own house is on fire?
Right.
You know?
Right, exactly right. But you said the dichotomy of you were saying in the context of like podcasts, but like the dichotomy is that on one end we have the ability to help people, right? Correct. But on the other end we have people who need help that are here. So what we need to do is help the people that are here, and then we can start to look out.
Yeah.
But if we don't make this a really good country and retain the amazing, and it is amazing, like if you talk to people from Lebanon, talk to people from Pakistan, when they come here, they're like, this is elite, this is awesome, it's safe in the streets. I can park my car here and leave it unlocked, you know, in some places.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Probably not here in...
Probably don't do that.
Probably not here in Brunswick, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. You know, it is an amazing, safe place, and I love it here, so we need to protect it. And the idea that people go, oh, we just let everybody in, it's terrible. And you think you're coming from a good place, but you just haven't thought about it well enough. And it's like, when people say that, they go, we need to have people, we need to let them in. It's racist if we don't. Okay, your house though, your house is going to be the first place that they come to. So you go to Parliament, put your address there and say, I want 5 asylum seekers to come live with me. Exactly. If you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be able to vote.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just chill. You don't actually want them to come live with you. So where are they going to go, man?
And it's, exactly right.
It's ridiculous. So
but that's a pattern I noticed though with this liberal mindset is like conservative, if we can use that phrase, is you're conserving what is.
Yeah.
We like boundaries.
Yeah.
Something that Jordan Peterson talked about in terms of personality relating to politics is people who have a more conservative inclination usually have a higher sensitivity to disgust, which means like you don't want any pathogen or something to breach your boundary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's on a physical level.
Yeah.
You kind of extrapolate the mindset of that, and your country is your boundary.
Yeah.
And that's why we
it's a
kind
safe
of,
space.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We kind of lean in that direction. You flip it on the left side, it's almost like they want to loosen every boundary, including definitional boundaries.
Yeah.
You say something that they don't like, racist, homophobe,
Yeah.
transphobe. Everything's a boundary like loosen that. Even now, Kamala Harris, I literally had a great discussion with a friend.
Yep.
She's super left-leaning.
Yep.
She was like, yeah, Kamala, you know, the black woman, as a black woman president. I'm like, whoa. Like, she's Indian. And she's like, yeah, a black woman. I'm like, wait. I'm like, hold on. She's Indian. No problem with that, obviously. But, and this is what I said to her. I'm like, this is the first time, and I don't even know if you've noticed it, we're now clumping Indian with black. Like, you're trying to hijack the black oppression so that you could say a black woman's president. Yeah. It's just, that's the thing I've noticed with liberals is they like to just mix things in together.
And what a stupid way to pick someone because of the color of their skin.
That's a whole other conversation.
That's the definition of racism. Like to go, I want this person to lead the country because of the color of their skin it's ridiculous. And that's another way that they showcase to you that they don't know anything. And there wasn't anything to know when this woman was pressed on so many interviews about what are the specific policies that you're going to have. There was nothing. That's why she lost in a mudslide, in a landslide, in a total, like, you know, I have some left-leaning friends who I respect and they're great people, but I can't understand how they think that like the country is hard done by. The people have spoken. It was a very one-sided thing. Almost everybody voted for Donald Trump.
Everyone's over it, man.
And they're just like, we don't want any more of this shit. And to still go, oh, I can't believe he got in. Like, you're now the minority of people who go, he's this, he's that. I can't believe he said this and that. Everything he says, basically, I'm not saying he's not without fault, but everything that he's talked about the way the country's heading, how they have basically mentally ill people who are leading in some parts of the government, people who are, you know, known thieves of property. There was this one person who was a trans or a transvestite or a person
stealing the luggage,
and then
wearing more than once
wearing women's dresses, and she's a person who's in the political system. Was it a he?
Bro.
Well,
you obviously don't remember the photo.
It was a guy.
It was a very bold man
wearing dresses.
Right.
And so I look at that and go, you are aligning yourself with this person who is clearly mentally ill and a thief, and you're so against Donald Trump because of he's gruff and he says things you don't agree with. But I genuinely can't understand how people think and they go, I'm not aligning myself with Donald Trump. Oh, because he's
Well, it's the abortion conversation.
yeah, the abortion conversation. It's a huge one for the left, and
Which,
basically,
mind you, Trump doesn't really seem that pro-life as I understand it.
I think he's probably, a lot of people look at Donald Trump and some of the out of context, very edited and very cherry picked lines that he's talked about out of the thousands of hours of conversation that he has out there at public speaking, on media and this and that. I think there's been a few instances where he's talked about the fact that maybe there's a certain point in the abortion process where it becomes immoral.
Yeah.
And I basically think he sort of said towards the end of a pregnancy, when a woman or a baby can survive outside of the woman, it's kind of not morally right. Without saying that I'm going to rob you of those and I'm going to do. I think he was just like, it's probably not right. There has to be a line. I think he was really clear on stating there has to be a line and a cutoff where it's like, you can't just do this at some point.
Yeah.
It's not right. And
it's not a contraception.
And also it's not a contraception. And I want to be really clear. I'm not projecting my opinion into this at all. I'm simply speaking about what Donald Trump said. But I want to clear something up for a lot of the people who go, oh, but he's getting rid of abortion. Donald Trump did not get rid of abortion. He did not put a federal ban on abortion. The federal law was there already, right? That said that every abortion is allowed everywhere. That was the federal law. It was called Roe versus Wade. That was decided in that case. So there was a federal law that said abortion allowed. That's why all of these Planned Parenthood places popped up. When Donald Trump put I believe he put one of the justices in on the Supreme Court, they decided to take it down as a federal mandate that forced places who don't want abortion available. Yeah. So all he did was return it to the states. That is one of the biggest lies that people were told, is that Donald Trump made it illegal for everywhere to have abortions. It's not true. Look into it.
Thank you for this. I had no idea.
Donald Trump put one or two justices into the Supreme Court that was right-leaning or conservative-minded. They then were able to vote on the issue of a federal law mandating the places that it's like not even just saying that it's banned. It's actually saying you actually have to provide this as a part of the medical system. You have to provide abortions. So if you're from a place that's like a Montana or an Alaska or somewhere that is deeply rooted in Christian values, or places that generally oppose the mindset of using abortion as a contraceptive or at all, there are places where people go, no, we categorically disagree with it and we don't want it here. So he's returned the power back to those states to vote on it. Like we in Melbourne, right? We should be able to vote on things that affect Melbourne, true or not?
Yes.
Would you want Queenslanders being able to say, you know what? No, we don't want clubbing after 2 a.m. We don't have that culture here and we don't agree with your way of life. Would you want them voting on a federal? I'd be like, fuck off then, bro. Go sit on the beach, bro.
Yeah.
We're going to stay here. We want clubs open. We want to have a good time. That's
Sorry, I'm going to put my lefty hat on, because obviously there is a contrast with the example you've given an abortion.
Yep.
Because the argument would be then that for people who are low socioeconomic status, they now need to go to Queensland. I'd rather go to Bali than Queensland. It's expensive.
Yeah.
The argument is you're now making it a lot harder for people to go interstate, or forcing them to go interstate to make such decisions.
Yeah, and look, I'm not fighting for either way, but the argument against that is that
we're both like meta arguing.
Nah, but it's good, man, because like I didn't want to come on here and tell you what fucking flavored icicles
I was
like,
so
bro.
happy, man.
You know what I mean, bro?
No, I appreciate it.
I don't even want to come if I got to talk about some fake shit. I love this sort of stuff. That's why I'm a political person. But
it matters, man.
The argument against that is, well, look, if you believe in democracy all the way through, not just when it suits you, then you have to swallow the pill that you might have to drive to Queensland to get the abortion because your state, the people around you, your community and wider, voted and said no. I'm not saying no. You know what I'm saying? I would actually vote and say, there'd have to be some specifics out there, but look, I want stuff available for people who need it. There are lots of really good people that have to use that service, and that's completely fine. Now, I would vote to have it available, but I'm saying that it's still available. It's just in Queensland. You might have to drive up. Like even someone like me who, look, I'm a man. I don't have a super strong opinion on what women can do with their bodies. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you look at democracy, you can't have it so it's, oh, well, I don't like democracy when it's voted against me.
Mm.
If you don't like it and it's something you need, then you're going to have to, because of democracy, it doesn't always please everybody, yeah? Sometimes it fucks people over. The same way that, you know, they voted in a government that forces to get vaccines. Sometimes it fucks good people over. So you have to go, okay, but I still believe in the system. Okay, so I can't get it here. I'll have to get it elsewhere.
Yeah,
So it is what it is, man. Look, I hope everybody who needs that service can get to it. I hope anybody that needs a specific medical service can get to it. I wish the best for anybody who has to, you know, partake in the service.
And you wouldn't wish it against anyone.
And I wouldn't want any person to be in that position or have to make the choice. So it's, you know, I feel for people.
100%. For me, it's just I try find the middle ground that we can agree on.
Yeah.
And at the minimum, I just want, can we at least view it in a way where it's not something to be proud of? It's not, like you got people TikToking, putting their fetus in saying that, like.
That's bizarre behavior.
But there's a lot of things that people do which we'd be like, oh, look at the liberals. But it's obviously just this extreme case of attention seeking. And we as right-leaning jump on it and be like, look, see, they're fucking crazy. But we've just played into the algorithm of responding to whatever they put out, you know? So I want to be cognizant not to do that. But culturally, at the minimum, let's try disenfranchise people from even going down that path. Like, we should be not wanting anyone to do anything like that.
I think if anybody is honest with themselves and like really honest, you know, not just because you're in a room of people who you want to impress or you want to sound cool or you want to sound informed, but I think anybody that has a child, once you have a child and you look at it, your opinion will probably start to skew deep within. I'm not saying that you won't be so guarded and like scared of the outcome of being your true self to like project outwards and go, hang on, I would never want this to happen. But at the same time, I think that people who are really strongly advocates for like abortion, like you'll see people who talk about it, like there were women coming out and talking like, I love abortion, I love it. You'll see guys who go, and these guys are so funny, like Steven Crowder or like Charlie Kirk. They'll go and speak to people who are at these like pro-abortion
universities and stuff.
Universities, but they're like pro-abortionists, and they'll be like, so how do you feel about abortion? It's like, I love it. It's like, you love the freedom, you love that a woman can access the medical system, right? It's like, no, I love abortion. And so people get so far on this side of this, like, so what are you defining as that? Like, you love it, or you're happy that your friend could get out of a really shitty situation that would have made her life extremely hard. It wouldn't have ended her life in most cases, but it would have been something that she didn't want to partake in, and you're happy that people around you have that access to do it. I can understand that because there are people that get it and they end up in that situation for whatever reason, and they should have access to be able to better their lives as they see it, because we are... If it's there to help, then use it to help. But then there's the argument of, well, like, you can't go around saying that I love it and I want it.
It's a reaction.
I want people to get as many as possible. It's
exactly.
What actually are you even saying? What are you actually saying? You know, like it's bizarre, and I think I think people even now, like, I feel like I've got to tread very carefully, because I'm not saying either way. Like I said, I want people to be able to get the services they need. I certainly I'm not smart enough, nor am I informed enough to be the person who is deciding that. Very tough decision. But I think that we really need to look at things like from a whole and go, what is actually the right thing to do, and what are the parameters in which we're going to provide this service? Because everything needs to have some like boundaries around it, some structure around it, you know, otherwise you end up in chaos. So very interesting. But I'm glad to get that off my chest with the Donald Trump thing, because a lot of people go, he got rid of it. No, he just allowed people to now vote on it, and that's democracy. The same way as if we voted on it and Queensland said it's legal, then go up to Queensland and get it done. And people go, oh, but I'm a low socio-economic person. It's like, okay, it's not that expensive to get to Queensland. And I know it's inconvenient, but you just fill up your car and you drive 24 hours. You might fill up your car 3 times.
And again, respectfully, depending on the situation, it feels like a reminder of actions do have consequences as well. You know?
That's a tough pill for people to swallow. And you know, like we've sort of carefully went around the fact that there are some legitimate, extreme and severe and horrific cases where people need that service, and for whatever reason it is, not to go into it, but like people do need the service, so it definitely needs to be there for those dire cases. Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing is that you don't want to have it become a part of the social fabric, that it's a normal thing.
Which it is, yeah.
I think most people, if they really, once they actually get to know their kids and they're looking at their kids, I think that most people would agree that you wouldn't want your kids having to go through that.
Exactly.
Having to make that decision.
Or be trans. Like you don't want that against your worst enemy.
Don't, man.
You know?
Like there's a lot of strange things that are becoming a part of the social norm, and it's like, do you think that that's normal? So like a Megan Fox who was in Transformers. Do you know who Megan Fox is?
Yeah.
She was like, the Hollywood it girl. She was like a person that profited and made it big time in this system of celebrity, Hollywood, business, enterprise, production, these types of things. She made it in that. And now once she's rich and she's, established now, she's got 3 kids. I saw this on a post. She's got 3 kids and they're all trans.
What are
the odds of that? That's like not even statistically possible. So you got to think that some of these ideas and belief systems that are becoming a part of the norm, are they damaging or not? Because the statistics are pretty clear in that it's not a super happy population of people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not, man. That's just a fact. And I'm not saying that people can't live full lives, and I hope they do live full lives, but it's an interesting time to be alive, and a lot of people are fucking getting into some really depraved and sort of separated from humanity in a sense, where they're doing it to themselves though. It's like this mutilation and depravity that people go into as a sense of identity. It's like you'll never find a part of yourself by removing a part of yourself. That's how I feel.
And if you're chasing happiness, it's already endless well, in the worst sense. You're already baseline at a wrong position.
Yeah.
If you're like, I don't feel good, I need to chase the thing that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And then you go extreme to the point, you castrate or chop or whatever. But that fundamentally there, all right, what do you not? I don't feel good. I feel like shit a lot of the time. But yeah, when I do, when the lows are low, fuck me, they're low.
Let me ask you this. You're hinting at like mental health is a huge topic these days. So what you're hinting at is that basically like, your mental health is not always good. Can we agree to that? So and that's okay. Your mental health is not always going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Like, what do you think drives, when people say mental health, by the way, it's like mental health, like, mental health.
Umbrella terms.
Yeah, it's such a huge term. Like, mental health. Like, what, bro? What the fuck does that even mean? Mental health. What does that mean? So,
drugs.
Well, it can be, right? It can be definitely a part of it, and we've all been there. But what does it actually mean to be mentally unwell? What levels are we talking about here? Everything that, anytime you're having a bad day or your thing, like you're now mentally unwell. So I think the languaging around it, mental health, right, is such a broad thing. Let's start defining stuff for what it is. What do you think is the biggest driver of low mental health for men? Because we don't experience the female experience, which is why a lot of people or a lot of women probably listening to us are going, why are 2 guys talking about this?
Yeah, I've heard
hey, listen,
this argument,
we're just people as well.
And it's just concepts as well.
And we're just talking, and we're not judging or saying that our opinion is worth any more than the fucking dog shit down the street. And I'll openly say that. Like, I'm just a person talking to a guy that I just met today.
Literally.
And we're just 2 people talking. We're both 2 people that are doing things out in the world, and we've somehow come across these same concepts, and we're interested by them, and we're talking about them. So,
and it's aligning realities as well. This has been my experience. This is yours. Do they match?
Yeah.
Seemingly so far,
what are some of the things that we're seeing? And
Yeah.
the fact that we're seeing the same thing means that there is an element of deep truth to what we're experiencing. And so we're allowed to talk about those things.
Or we're both trans, really.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going
I'm
on.
a transsexual. And this is where I'm coming out. It's one of those two.
Right, yeah.
It's one of those 2 options. No, but, so I'm interested in what you think, being you. What do you think is the driver of low mental health or poor mental health in men today?
Statistically, I don't know.
Tell me what you think, though.
What I think based on what I consume is loneliness and isolation.
Yeah.
I can't speak on behalf of other people, but I'm a pretty lonely, isolated person. I don't see in my experience how that's like bad mental health. I have no idea, man. I'm surprised I actually can't answer that.
Yeah, that's fine. So you said being alone. You're a fairly lonely person. Now, I wouldn't say that the definition of lonely is the fact that you are alone. you're probably just the type of cat who is, slightly extroverted while being mostly introverted. So there are parts of your personality that are bubbling up now. That's why you started a podcast. That's why you're reaching out to people. But there was probably a part of you initially when you started reaching out to people that was like, oh my God, is this guy going to think I'm a fucking retard? Why am I reaching out to people asking him to do my podcast? The fact that I'm even sitting in a room with another dude and we're just talking, how strange, how bizarre. Am I a weirdo? Are people going to judge me?
Yeah.
That was probably a part of the psychological makeup of who you were when you first started. And you've actually allowed this space for yourself to grow because of that small part of you that's extroverted. I am genuinely a person who has always ran my own race. I've always been an individual. I was never someone who ever followed the pack, and I was someone that I'm always polarizing. If people either enjoy me or they don't enjoy me. Like I just rub some people the wrong way, my whole energy. But generally speaking, I'm more magnetic than I am the opposite of that. I draw people in more than I push people away. And so
that comes with intention, though.
It comes with intention, and it comes with your general attitudes, but it also comes back to that core. Like, I know who I am. I know what I'm trying to do. I know that I just want to connect with people. And so people genuinely want to get on board and they want to be around that. So one thing that I've discovered in my journey to sort of go through, because I find that topic, mental health, has been
just thrown around,
talked about ad nauseum. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Great, awareness, this and that. But how much awareness does a person need to know that their life is not on track?
Well, I think, sorry, just because the thought came up just then.
Tell me.
What I would answer your previous question specifically for men is, I think back in the days, it was very clear cut that men were the providers. We had a purpose, we had a narrative and a story of where our role fits into society, into the family unit. Now, and God bless we can, that women can be the breadwinners. Men are kind of moving. I think we're at a stage now for men where we're having to redefine our purpose. I say men, but humans in general. AI's around the corner. We don't even need to talk about that. But the value of a human life's in question. Zoom in a bit more. The purpose of a man's life, I think the reason why we're also just disgruntled and sad, I think, is, we just don't know what our meaning is.
Bro, and this is why this element of communication is so impactful. I have no idea about your life, your circumstances, where you've come from or what you do. Honestly, I just met this guy today.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
But you have stumbled across the same truth that I have stumbled across in all of my journeys, in all of my pitfalls, in all of my experiences. And it's that people don't know why the fuck they do anything. You have no purpose and you don't stay true to yourself. Like you bend at the will of other people, you please other people, you live to just operate in this thing, never just doing what it is that will actually provide value to others and therefore yourself. So it's so interesting to me. Like when you even were talking, I'm going, yes, it is the lack of purpose. Most men who have mental illness, and there's so many initiatives that are like, it's not weak to speak, mental health day or blue day or whatever. Are you okay? Are you okay? Like, are you okay? Are you productive? I'm not saying that it's going to solve all your problems, but I'm saying it's going to solve the big ones. Like life is hard and it gets harder. The older we get, the harder it is to provide value. But in the same way, really, the longer you have to provide value to the people around you. So anyone who, for me, I do interface with hundreds of people a week. I see a lot of people during the week. And one of the biggest things that I notice is like the people that are committed to something, do something for a reason. So they go to work for their family, they go to work so they can afford the boat to take their kids out on Lake Eildon, and they go, they do this stuff. Those people are happy, and then they're happy with not that much. They're not gazillionaires, they're not millionaires, they're not people, but they work for something and they have a purpose.
And at the least a story.
They have a story.
There's
and
a
they
character.
Have a why. They have a why, and so you will meet people who are constantly going through life miserable, and they go, I don't know why I'm miserable. But in the same sense, if I ask that person, well, what have you done for a single other person this week? And their answer is going to be 0. And that's why
I'm a pretty selfish person. I'll just come clean with it.
But we all are selfish. Bro.
Yeah.
Everyone is selfish. Anyone who says they're not selfish is a liar. But what I'm saying is that happiness is generated through productivity. And I'm not just saying working and ticking boxes and like fucking working at a dentist. I'm not saying like just being productive in the work sense, but like, are you being productive in that when you sort of look into yourself, you're going, nah, it's better that I'm here than if I'm not. Like,
That's a really nice
better
point.
that I'm actually here because at least I could smile at this person and say, how are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other day was funny, like such a funny area, man. This is where we are, by the way, guys. No offense
I'm
to the
actually,
people here.
I'm cutting that out.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to know,
I don't
yeah?
put locations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
fair
right.
enough. Well, some of the suburbs, to come back to our conversation, some of the suburbs in Melbourne, like I come in and they're so interesting to be around because people aren't even like, they're not productive on the level that they don't even want to be nice to people anymore. You don't want to just see people. You don't want to say, hey, like the other day I was filming here, filming on one of these streets in this part of town, in this super lefty part of town.
True.
And I knew that the filming in of itself was throwing people off walking past. So what I decided to do for this person who was walking towards me, I lowered the camera and said, hey, how are you? Just like that, like I always do. And this person goes, good. And I just thought to myself, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
But what is wrong with you? But also, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't actually want to know.
I was actually just trying to make you more comfortable, to make you feel like I wasn't filming you. I'm filming this guy here.
So my point is though, like, agreed, but it's what is wrong with you? But please don't answer that, because whatever it is, if that's your projection into the world,
Right.
I've given hello. This is me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love to give. Hello.
Yeah.
If that's you, because you know what? A lot of people, and it's sad to say, but I've learned to just not be an ear for everyone, to stop. I'm not, I'm like the people around me. I'm not your therapist. I can listen, but people just throw out and project how they think relating works. So that person tried to throw something out and wanted to see if you can pull on that thread.
Right.
And it's a tether, and it's that's what they've given. That's what they want to interface with. They were trying to find a betweenness in that.
Right.
And you now either need to match that frequency or push away or this. Like, you know what? That's you. Fucking goodbye and good riddance.
You know who are some of the happiest people that you meet? Are the people that just stopped giving a fuck ages ago, and they literally don't let anybody touch their energy. They walk around and they go, hey, how are you? They don't care if they sound too energetic. They don't care. They're so in touch with their own energy, where they go, I'd rather just be the person that is vibrating so highly that I'm loud. I'm putting, not in an obnoxious way, obviously.
And if it is sometimes,
and sometimes
that's
people
okay.
go, oh my God, like, there'll be sometimes in the gym, there'll be people that are super bubbly in the morning, and there are people that are not morning people, and that's okay, right? It doesn't matter. But what I notice between people is, like, the people that are not morning people, man, they're almost upset at a person who's too vibrant in the morning.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? But at a base level, if you really think about it, this person has decided, with all of their troubles, which everyone has, to still come into the world and interface with people in a very energetic way. In almost, I'm not going to load you up with my shit. I'm just going to give you like, how are you? I'm good. I'm really good, man. How about you? They might be going through their own demons.
It's infectious.
But
it is.
It's super infectious. And you go, oh, you know what? I'm actually feeling really good too.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. Despite all this other shit, like, I got to get my toe operated on, or some bullshit reason that's getting you down. You go, actually, I'm all right. I'm actually good too. And that's sort of the basic level of care. And when you go out and you interface with the world and you go, I'm not going to put my bad energy out here, that's actually the easiest form of care, and also self-care, because you when you spread your message to the world of vibrancy and happiness and enthusiasm, you know what, you're going to slowly start to rub off on people. And I can tell you that having a gym, I wouldn't even still be in businesses if I came into the gym and expressed or embodied the way I was feeling at that very moment. Maybe I was up all night. Maybe I was up for, a portion of the night. I had a really shit sleep.
Maybe I'm sick or something.
But I get up in the morning and I come in with that energy. I never, ever would allow people to sort of see that part of me that is, feeling down or feeling hopeless, or like is running into personal issues, or has had huge weights. And you're there and you go, this is the basic form that I choose to interface with the world, and therefore I'm a little bit happier because at least I'm choosing. I don't let life weigh me down. I choose to pick life up and try to swing that motherfucker. And that's the difference between someone who actually accepts the shit part of life, and there's a lot of people that are just going, life is shit for me right now, and that is just my reality.
Mm.
And it's
So I want it to be shit for you
yeah,
too.
but it's really not though. It's your life is malleable. You can change things, you can do things, and you've got to at some point you've got to go. I am going to take charge of at least my mood. I'm going to make sure that I'm happy. And I'm not saying everybody should be happy. That I'm actually saying no one is happy 24/7.
Yeah.
But how you choose to engage with other people is the most basic form of productivity, where you can start to develop momentum leading into your morning, leading into your day. Now you've said 5 great hellos and you know, how was your weekend? And you've started a conversation and you've picked up the vibration in the room 10%.
Yeah.
And then slowly by lunchtime, people are a little bit happier because everyone now is vibrating a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And these things are huge. And so people who are miserable, people that have terrible mental health, you'll often find that like they do nothing for no one. They do nothing for anyone, not even a happy hello, not even a how are you? People that are often
But these are consumers. These are not judging everyone blanket term.
no,
but
they're not bad people. They're just stuck in a. They're just stuck.
But it's a take.
Right.
When you got the love to give or energy to give,
Yeah,
you've worked on it. It fills up, and then you can go out.
that's right.
And then sometimes you need to come back recluse, build the love up again.
Yeah.
You know, in your aloneness, in your sadness. But once I refer everything to like sexual energy.
Okay.
So as men, we obviously have a sexual tension, sexual buildup, and a release.
Even right now.
Even right now, yeah. So but that process is always happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? We are men. So
Yeah.
in my head, that kind of comes out in our symbolism, in the way we speak. But I think that as well, you got to build up that love, that energy, and then you can have something to give, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say the best antidote to feeling low in life is to start providing value to whoever you can. Like, have you got some skill? Like, what skills do you have? You know, and then go to somebody and go, can I be of use to you?
Yeah.
Is there some synergy here? I've found so much happiness and so many doors will open for you. Like so many. Like people just have no idea. Like even you, right? Like getting. Did you get all of this equipment that's in this room?
Spent a lot of money.
So you spent the money, man. You go, you know what? I'm investing in this shit to the point where I'm going to just go all in. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, but you know how many doors has it opened? You're still early in your journey.
My point and the thing, because everyone goes, oh, you're making money? I'm like, that's not even a factor for me.
Right.
I'm making connections. My network has already just expanded.
Right.
Why else would, like, obviously I could have come to the gym, but it's just, it is incrementally net positive, and that's full stop for me. And this is just, this is me going to the gym. This is just a part of my routine now.
It's the reps, bro.
Yeah, it's literally the reps.
Everything relates back down to the reps, and you're going to get so much value. Even having a conversation like this is so valuable to you, to me.
Yeah.
And so at the very base level, we've added that small amount of value, that small amount of connection, and at least that's something. So like if I had to come in here, I got problems. Everyone's got problems.
Yeah.
But I've come in here and I've subjected myself to an honest, a real conversation, a raw and vulnerable conversation where we're trying to talk about very heavy things and very, very big ideas.
Actually wasn't ready for this, but
Bro,
I'm really pleasant with it.
I had thought about this. I hadn't really thought about it too much until today. I'm not like a stressor of definitely not a stressor of speaking, but when I had sort of thought about it, I wonder how this guy's going to be. I'm going to ask him if he's a Trump guy first of all, because
I was going to wait till the end to ask you.
After that, I get a general sense. No, but you know what? We should. That's the good shit. That's the good shit. Like I guarantee, man, this particular episode is going to do really well. I think people are going to enjoy it. I think a lot of people.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation, so I'm sure it's projecting.
I'm really enjoying this conversation too, bro. And I think that a lot of people are going to want to, like once they've started listening, they're going to say, oh, okay, so this is that truth that I'm trying to hear. They're not trying to hear the bubblegum shit.
Yeah.
They don't want to listen to me, Dills, the guy, to just talk about really surface level stuff, because I'm not a surface level guy. I'm definitely not a normal person.
How many reps to build fiber muscle?
Hey, listen,
I mean, that is interesting.
The funny thing is like when we had first spoken and we were sort of talking about like, what is it that we're going to talk about, the story of VA, this and that. You know, I've told that story many times, and I thought to myself, I didn't want to say it because we didn't know each other, but I was going to say to you, that's going to be
fuck this shit.
That's going to be the conversation for about 15 seconds, bro, and then we're going to talk because the story, bro.
I'm in your podcast. I love it, bro.
But the story of VA is not even that interesting, bro. I'm a guy who started. I bought barbells. I bought plates. I started a gym. It's not like a $1 billion business. It's not anything, but there's a lot of things that I'm interested in. There's a lot of concepts that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm interested in value. I'm interested in productivity. in the most masculine and value-focused sense. I do not mean slaving away at a job that you hate. I do not mean that you are a slave to some system. Productivity means getting up out of bed and trying to be valuable to people.
Yeah, man.
Like, bring some value, and I guarantee your life will get so much better. I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be, but every single year I am reinvigorating parts of myself. I'm shedding these heavy coats that I used to wear off, and I'm becoming more plastic. Like my personality has a huge amount of plasticity to it, in the sense that I am moldable. I can change. I'm super adaptable. Like I can be applied anywhere. I know I'm effective, very effective as a person, because I have the mindset of just, okay, right now I'm shit. That's okay. I've got to try though. And you keep trying and you keep doing it. And all the while people are looking in going, oh, but like, why are you doing that? It's like, but why do we do anything?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not come on this podcast? Like, why not talk to you? Why start a podcast?
Yeah.
Why invest like 10, 15 grand in everything you're doing and you don't even know if it's going to pay you? Because I want to. Because I want to do it.
Because I'm alive.
Because I'm alive, and like I don't want to look back in 10 years and go, oh, I never did that thing. I just stayed working in that one job that sort of paid the bills. I wasn't super happy doing it, but at the same time, it's still honorable to do a job you don't like, by the way. But when it comes to being productive, I just think that value, it's value everything, man. Always comes back to value. What value can you bring? What value can you deliver? And trust me, value will be delivered back to you.
Yeah.
So there's lots of good, very deep concepts in there that people just need to come to themselves. But I hope that people who are suffering from mental health can hear, and there's so many mental health issues. There are so many reasons why a person is mentally unwell, and the fact is it's okay. But there's another fact that people need to understand. It is still your life. And in your journey battling mental health and a low mental health, or a rocky lifestyle, or whatever it is that's drawn you into a place you don't want to be, no matter where you go, no matter who you seek, it all will come back to you. At some stage, you'll have to get a grip on your life and go, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not any of these things. I'm just a person who refuses to have myself pulled down into the pits of my own mind, which anybody can. I just refuse. I just refuse. Like, oh, okay, so I'm shit at something. Cool. Doesn't matter. I don't let that stop me from doing anything, because I know in a year's time, I'll be better than so many other people who are still scared to jump in. And I'm okay with submitting to the process. And like, I recently started like cutting hair out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love seeing that. That's
Bro,
awesome.
I never had desire to cut hair. I never really wanted that career path. I never looked at myself going, one day I just figured, I got rid of the Pilates element of my business, and I go, what am I going to do upstairs here? What am I going to do? Well, I got a couple friends that are barbers, and I think, well, I could actually just put barber chairs in here, and I could just do it. I could do it. I don't know how to cut hair. So I literally got a friend of mine to sit down in the chair, and I got a friend of mine to show me how to cut hair.
Said, fuck my shit up.
And I've been cutting hair ever since. Like, have I done some not as good haircuts? Absolutely.
Growth,
Absolutely.
man. Yeah.
And it is what it is. And I thank the people who have submitted to my journey on my haircutting journey. But and you know how much fulfillment I've got out of it? I'm not even really insanely good at it right now. I'm not even like above average. I'm still an average barber. I like to think that I'm still pretty good for like what I've put into it, but I'm an average practitioner in that art, right?
Yeah.
The amount of fullness I've got from it is immense. I love it. I look forward to every haircut more than any other part of what I'm doing right now.
Wow.
And I do a lot of different things.
And because you're growing in it, you're
I love it, man.
on,
I love it. I've got my little setup. I've got my little swag when I do it. Like I like the whole process of it. And so even if you're shit at something, just pursue something. Just pursue something that can provide value. And I guarantee along the way, you're going to just incrementally feel so much better and so much more full.
Yeah.
So it's like these things that I say, these are not from someone who's never done anything. I constantly put myself in the crucible.
It seems like you're grabbing on a lot, but
I am.
Also doing them pretty obviously successfully, like to their full extent.
I'm trying my best to be successful in all that I do, and it's not easy. And there's been things that I haven't been successful in. There's been like I tried to open up a second gym at one point, and what I learned through that journey, it was an expensive journey, but what I learned through that was that my gym has been built off me.
Okay.
And so for me to scale it, the business itself wasn't able to scale as easily as I thought.
You need a protege.
I should have done a lot more research, and I should have done a lot. Now how I understand business is completely different. But at the time, this is straight after COVID, and at the time I was just thinking of more is better. But that gym ended up failing a year and 3 months. Well, it failed. I mean, it failed to the point where I didn't want to run it anymore. It broke even for most of the time that it was open, but from what it was taking from me, I was not able to continually move forward. So I am not
or
without,
give 100% to
or
now
give
the
100,
original.
bro. And it was taking away from my other business. It was taken away from myself. It was taken away from my personal relationships. I couldn't even, like, people were calling my phone, and these are, you know, people like my mum or like people, friends, close friends, and they're calling just to have a conversation. And I was snappy.
Yeah.
I was not channeling or vibrating from my best self because of how much this second business was taking from me. It was really hard. It was really hard. Every single month I was doing like $17,500 just in rent. So I owed every single month $17,500, and it was starting to slowly bury me. There were times where I was earning $3,500 a week, and this is from my personal treatment side of what I do. And I would go and I'd look in my account and there's like nothing, or I'd have to put more money in, and it's insane. I was thinking to myself, I cannot keep doing what I'm doing. The reality is that I couldn't have continued running the business as I was, and how I run my gym is not necessarily scalable. So these are all things that I learn. I don't sit here and profess to be a totally successful person, but I'm out here doing it. I grind and I try to provide as much value as possible. And because I'm not spreading myself too thin now across all of these different overheads, like one piece of advice I'd give any young entrepreneur is to do things that don't cost a lot of money. So set up a small studio before you set up a big studio.
Yeah.
You know, start small and grow into it, because then if shit's not working, you're not getting buried. You know, so less is actually more most of the time. Like, you're not really going to run into too many circumstances where you go balls to the wall and spend out on everything and it's going to yield the exact same investment versus so like, you know, you put a huge investment in, right? And you've set up a gym for $1 million, say, right? You're not going to open on day one and get $1 million revenue.
Exactly.
So you've got to start looking at things like smaller scale. Let me build in, let me grow, let me become a deadly assassin in what I do. Let me become the best practitioner in what I do. And therefore then I can grow out of my space. And a lot of it has to do with building a community first.
Yeah, and
so build a community.
You said reps. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
there,
it's good.
But reps, it's the processes, whether small or big. You really want to build up the processes, the routine, and the rhythm.
Yeah.
And then you can scale out. But
Yeah.
that's at its core, I feel like.
And I'd say one of the things that people really overlook is the power of a community. It's better to have a group of 20 or 30 people who just rock with you no matter what. These are people that you've got a super good product for. You can service these people fantastically. You might not have all of the bells and whistles in what you do, but you've got a community that will serve you a lot better than having all of the bells and whistles and no one in there to service it.
Right.
So the community is actually, at most of what I do, if I think about like the gym, the community is the most important thing. If I think about my clients with my physical therapy side, it's a community. People know me, they know deals, they know that I'm going to give them a fantastic service. I'm going to do stuff for them that they're not able to get from other clinicians, other therapists, because for whatever reason, I'm able to provide more value in what I do physically than other people are, mainly because I don't work in a clinic and I don't do it full time. I don't see 20 patients a day.
Yeah.
I see 15 people a week, and for those people, I put my heart and soul into
And they're
those
friends,
treatments.
it seems
and
like.
a lot of them are friends.
Yeah.
They're a part of my other community. So it's
Yeah.
like this blending in. And then, you know, obviously with videography, people that I work with in that sense, your broader network of people just like this.
About that.
Yeah, but everything comes back to your community. Who are you networking with? Which is why this platform, what you've done here, my best advice to even you is to just keep going. Do not stop for any reason, because no matter what, you will be way better off in a year's time. There'll be times where you hit a wall and you're like, man, fuck this podcast shit, man.
I'm like, what am I doing?
I'm sick of it. You know, these fucking views. I'm sick of getting like this many views for the amount of effort. And like in a year's time, there'll be more. In a year's time after that. And then 12 years later, you've got something that can feed your family. You've got this podcast that people want to jump on and want to talk on. So I recently like had a bit of a break from posting on Instagram and posting on here, and stuff just dwindles away. It does. You know, I'm not without points in my life where I just don't have energy for shit. I experience that as well. But you just got to keep going. You just got to keep fucking putting the value out there across all the different things that you do, and try to do different things.
They say like the work you do now is never going to show now anyway. All the work you do now is only going to show up in a year and in a year's time. So there's never a scenario where, I think Chris Will spoke about this, where he was explaining at the gym, at least at the end of the gym session, you see the pump.
Yeah, right.
And that's why it's so addictive, because you're visually seeing it. But the work you do elsewhere, there's just no visual connection you're making. So that's why it feels more like work there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because when I got into doing stuff with videography, I'm really interested in business, clearly, right? So I'm really sort of, my mind is geared towards sales, marketing. I'm very naturally comfortable in these spaces. So when I got into videography, I started making videos for my business, and then I sort of knew that I could help other smaller businesses. So I wanted to go in and actually connect with businesses. And a lot of the time, people early on, they go, I am not going to invest too heavily into social media or content because, like, what does it do? It doesn't translate to leads straight away. And I go, yeah, it doesn't. You're right. Not every single video does. But if you're posting for a year, I guarantee the eyeballs that you get on your business, it will upregulate those numbers. Of course it will.
And the relationship people get to build with you
and the brand,
the screen,
and some things are just not interesting as well. There are actually, and this is true, there are some businesses that just don't need to post on social media. Very few. I would say that 95% of businesses should be posting. I mean, all businesses should be, but there are some people who operate slightly outside of the hugely dominated social media era that we are in right now. So some of these businesses are a cleaning business. Although I could think of lots of creative ways you could showcase cleaning.
They got some pretty Spanish ladies.
But yeah, I mean, look, that's a whole nother lane.
They could be.
Yeah, well, look, hey, it's engaging, right? But what I mean is, like, you don't really see too many cleaners putting it up. Would they benefit from doing it? Yes, they would. Overall, they would. Even shot with an iPhone, it would. But they don't need to.
Yeah,
so they're not going to go, oh, well, I want to pay $2,000 a month to, like, get my content shot for me. They're not going to do that because it's not something that is, like, palatable in the sense that it's, or tangible, I should say, is a better word, to be like, oh, I got all these cleaning leads. Like, I know they will get more cleaning leads with more content, but it's hard to see sort of at first when things just start get going. So,
well, it's an attention economy. Like,
that's right.
That's what I think you're saying. Yeah, 95%. I might even push a bit more on that number, but
99% of businesses
possibly,
should
man.
Be.
Yeah, like
basically.
other than like maybe fucking e-commerce. I don't know, but
yeah.
Oh, well, even that actually.
I mean, they're one of the biggest.
Sorry, yeah,
sort of
that was way off. That was completely wrong.
But I know what you're saying. There are some small.
It's just
things.
eyes. It's just attention. It's just because even when we're not posting, some of my favorite. You know how people get shadow banned as well. Some of my favorite like YouTubers, as soon like they've been shadow banned or just for whatever reason not on my feed, they disappear from existence in my mind.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like a certain one popped up, like literally he's been posting frequently and I hadn't seen anything for over a month. I'm like, I forgot this guy just existed.
Right.
Just because it wasn't fed to me.
I know.
You know?
And there are parts of my brain sometimes when I don't see actually some people posting and I think to myself, oh, something must be wrong. But then why do we think that something must be wrong just because they're not partaking in a town square or whatever you want to call what social media is, like the spirit of posting out there into the universe so you can partake in this huge thing. Like,
it's weird.
You start to look at people, it's like, oh, I haven't seen them post in a while. Fuck, something must be wrong. It's like maybe something's right.
Yeah.
And they're really
maybe they're living.
And then you see the other people who like just get out of a breakup or they're just like, you know, they're going through something in their personal life and they're posting flat out. And you sort of sense something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because who just posts all these selfies and you're just talking like you got weird fucking lines and you're talking about weird shit, like something's obviously wrong. So that's the give and take on social media. Like, you put yourself out there, but what you put out there is going to be judged, you know? So you have to be, I guess, conscious of what you speak about and what you talk about.
Yeah.
Which
like we're literally externalizing, you know, and then it kind of comes down to what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Always it's the why. But if you're putting it out there, if it depends whether it's for the right reasons or not. We're going to pause for a moment. We're back.
Nice.
I did end that a bit abruptly.
That's okay.
Technical difficulties. It happens to the best of us, man.
And also, it's not your fault when something goes unplanned, especially when it's technology-based, because so many things can go wrong. All the time when I'm setting up for stuff, I'm always like, oh, I didn't press on the speaker. Oh, sorry, on the, you know, the thing when you have a mic that's not one of these, it's like a smaller Rode mic.
I haven't used them, but I know what you mean.
Oh,
yeah.
man, because sometimes you can press it and it mutes it, so it's not picking up everything. So you can turn it on and then it's muted. So you go through this whole thing, you think you've got everything, and then you realize it was muted the whole time. And so you're literally like, oh.
That's embarrassing.
It's a
and if
very
you've
painful.
got someone with you, you kind of don't want to fuck that.
Well, if you've already wasted like 45 minutes doing it, you're just like, bro, we've got to do that all
Take
again.
it from the
Otherwise,
top.
we've
Laugh at
wasted
the
our
exact
time.
same joke.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. So That's the power of, and that's what so many content creators run into. They run into the same issues, which is like fluidity in the conversation, the topics at which people are talking about, and then like the technicality and the cameras and the memory cards and the batteries and the overheating.
So it doesn't get better, is what you're telling me.
Well, no, it doesn't, man. The more things you have, the more that can go wrong. The more things you've got to charge. Like, when I do my charging night, it's like my drone, my batteries for my camera, my mics, all of these different things I've got to charge, and I'm like, fuck. This is the nitty gritty workhorse shit behind the scenes that you have to go through when you create content.
There was a point I wanted to make earlier, which I think it's very valuable, on the topic of, you were talking about when you lift your spirit, it magnetizes and it's infectious and other people pick up on it as well. You can even do that little experiment with yourself before you even go to other people. Even when you're in a really bad mood, like if I'm just in a shit mood, if you force yourself to smile, you're alone in your room, it's sad, nothing's going your way, force the muscles to whatever the terminology is.
It's making me want to smile.
Yeah,
right
it
now.
literally matters, bro. It matters. If you force that smile internally, watch your spirit lift, something switches. So it goes back to that point that you were saying of you literally are in control. I'd highly recommend, viewer, yourself, myself, next time you're just in a rut, even if it's the fakest and you don't want to, force your lips to do the thing that resembles a smile, and come back and tell me if that had an effect or not.
It's very powerful, man.
I highly believe it will. Yeah.
You know, some people will talk about a negative spiral. You know, so if I asked you to define a negative spiral, like what would you define a negative spiral as? Generally, not with one specific thing, but tell me what you think a negative spiral is.
Like a compounding issues where one thing creates more of an issue for the next thing.
And shit's just getting worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a positive spiral. There is also the opposing to, like, when shit is, okay, so you're starting from the bottom, right? But at the same time, you can only go up. So you stack tiny things on top of each other, and suddenly you're positively spiraling up, you know, and it all starts a lot of the time with just a smile. That's the bedrock of like a good day is, you know, to start smiling. So that's a really good point, man. And it's the basics in life a lot of the time are just the most impactful things, you know, the basics, like get up and smile, get up and go say hello to somebody, start a conversation, you know, ask about how someone is. So be the ear for them. And it actually fills your cup a lot of the time as well. Bro, what's your background?
Ooh. All right, I got to tell you to guess. Go.
I'm going to say Maltese.
No.
Nah,
I've
maybe
never got Maltese
I
before.
was going to say like half, maybe like Italian and Maltese or something like that.
No, Lebanese Syrian.
Lebanese Syrian.
Yeah.
Okay.
But did do the DNA test and came back Lebanese Syrian. A lot more Turkish than I thought.
Wow.
Didn't know how to feel about that. No disrespect to my people. So now I can say my people.
I've got to be careful. I've got a lot of Turkish mates.
No, I love all my Turkish mates.
Yeah.
My only like qualm is I'm personally not that patriotic. And every Turkish person I know has this like deep patriotism. Maybe I'm just envious and jealous I don't have it. Maybe that's what's going on. But
or maybe it's just something you notice and you go, I don't like all these loud, obnoxious people when they start like chanting the national anthem when they're not even in their country. And
there's a pattern, that's all I'm saying.
A lot of people feel like that. I always look at patriotism and I always love it. I don't know what it is. Like if you ever meet like a Maso person, Macedonian, they are the most patriotic people.
That's so
like
true as well.
Every Macedonian person you know, their dad has a flag of Macedonia in their garage. Like they are super, super prideful people, and I love it. I always love that because, you know, I always say to people, like, I'm a patriot. I love Australia. And that's why some of the opinions I have are strong, and maybe sometimes it makes you feel like I could be anti someone else. So, no, I'm not anti anybody. I'm just pro-Australian. I don't want to help China. I want to help Australia. I don't want to help anywhere, actually. I don't want to help the US more than I want to help the Australian country as a whole. So it always comes back to, like, I actually like when people have that pride. Sometimes is it misplaced, like when, like, you know, you'll get people who are just, you know, fighting people because they're, like, these
tribal
people from, you know, they're Serbians, and then you're fighting these cunts because they're Massos. It's ridiculous. None of you people really, like, we're a part of this huge issue that goes back a long time, but it's this prideful thing. So that can be sort of digested in one way, but I love when people are patriots. I love it.
It's fair, and I think if I could dissect it myself, the reason I think I may not be is because just growing up Middle Eastern, the amount of things that have happened in the Middle East over time, I've actually been asked before, like, if there was a war that broke out in the Middle East, would you defend Australia or would you defend the Middle East? Like your culture, your people, your parents, your uncle, like your family that's there. So there's always been this kind of tension in what would I choose?
Yeah.
And I think my defense mechanism was just a cop out. And I'm basically like, fuck patriotism. I don't want to have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to face this like identity issue of who am I? Am I Australian? Am I Lebanese?
Yeah.
And in that sense, I've just gone, fuck it all. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with it.
And that's really cool that you can be so self-aware that you understand. Would you like if say the circumstance happened where Australia was invaded, and sometimes I ask people this, like, would you enlist in a draft?
100. My response is always, if someone's coming to us,
Yeah.
I'm defending
100%.
our country. I'm defending my family. I don't give a fuck what that person identifies as or what their phenotypical makeup looks like.
Yeah.
All right, he's got a beard like me. Yeah, we're cousins. No, I don't give a fuck. You're coming to my country, my people here. I'm defending the country. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to hear, man. Sometimes I think people are so disconnected from that being a reality. We sort of have this thin veil of society that separates us from a different time, a different portion of history where it was a really big reality that most of the men might have to go fight in war. And there's something in me that maybe thinks that that's not actually something that's done with. I think that in a certain time in history, this is probably going to happen again because there's a simple fact that is true 100%. It's that history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And if we don't look at history and we're not like observers or we're not students of history, we are destined to repeat it. And you'll see that that's not my quote, by the way. It's a really good quote, but it's not my quote. But we are destined to repeat history. And I sense that we've come to a point in time, some of the really squirrely shit we were mentioning earlier, where we've become so separated from the fact that we need masculinity and we need men to be men as well.
100%.
Not to judge anybody, but I'm just saying as a general thing, like the masculine energy in society, like the reason, a big part of why, daughters feel connected to their fathers is because there's something that females are born where they're lacking the masculinity within themselves, the same as men are born lacking femininity, right? And that's why mothers are so special to sons, because they represent the divine femininity. And that's why dads hold a special, like girls love their dads.
Yeah.
You hear the phrase daddy's girls, mama's boys. And it's because we're like individually, we're actually incomplete. We need to have divine masculinity, divine femininity. And, some of the characteristics of like a divine feminist, what is the word? Femininity? Some of the characteristics that define classic femininity is like creation.
Yes.
Love, nurturing, compassion,
Emotional chaos.
Emotional chaos. Amazing qualities that, like, without your life wouldn't be very full. Some of the divine
communion, bringing together. That's the feminine energy.
Exactly right. And so, some of the divine masculine traits that we so desperately need are strength, decision.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Robust vitality. Like, people are attracted to. So, like, if you really go back into like simian or ape psychology, on which a lot of our psychology is based, they're actually very similar to us. They're mean to some people in their community, or some apes in their community. They have hierarchies. They have
you
jobs.
watched Chimp Empire?
Bro, I have.
I fucking love that so much.
One thing that shocked me? Apes live until like they're in their 40s.
I don't remember that shit.
Bro, they had some of the...
Oh, the old guy, I mean, the old ape.
The old ape was in there. The guy was like 48.
Chilling,
I was like, did they live that long?
And everyone just kind of like lets them do their thing.
They just go out, they eat that. I did not know that they lived that long. So that's one thing from Chimp Empire I learned. They live like long time.
Yeah. Well, they have a grooming hierarchy.
That's
so
right.
The number 2 and 3 would groom number 1.
That's right.
And basically everyone's grooming number 1. And they basically had like a form, and I'm explaining to you, you've seen it, but they basically can almost create a coup based on who they're grooming.
That's right.
And that you'd have like number 4 now groom number 2, but number 2 is close to number 1. Does number 2 want to take on number 1?
And apes also shake hands and kiss babies. One of the best elements that a person as a leader can demonstrate is that they are approachable enough to go and shake a hand of a random person. They step down to the level of the common people. They shake hands, they kiss babies. They actually noticed within like the ape societies that the leaders that lasted the longest and they didn't get overthrown, they often had gentle transitions into the next part of their role in the tribe, other than being the leader. The ones that didn't just get torn apart and get like basically beaten in a fight, those were the ones that were compassionate. They gave to all people, and they took care of kids that weren't their own. And so that has so much in the messaging, like fundamentally and down to our animalistic principles, these things are true. So providing value, coming back to that, providing value, being a decent fucking ape or human being is going to make your life better, man. So we're not so far away. I'm not so far away from an ape. I can tell you that right now, man. Honestly, my life is not so different. It's only because I'm a human being. But I often think like, man, I'm basically just a monkey doing human things. And I think a lot of dudes feel that. But strength, order, all of these things, we are somehow demonizing these things now. So we want to create a mindset around, especially young dudes, and this is why a lot of young dudes are lost, is because they just think, oh, well, I don't like I've sort of been bred to sort of think competitiveness is not good, you know. But in reality, these people are going to interface with competition their whole life,
and tyrants your whole life.
Tyrants. So like, if you're not competitive, then basically you're going to become someone who shies away from confrontation. If you're someone that shies away from confrontation, you're never going to be able to stand up for what you believe in. And so if you just have all these people that don't want to stand up for what they believe in, you're going to have a very submissive population, and it's not good for anyone. You need to have strong men. And you know, there's not enough like, you look at our politicians, they're all soy boys. They're all unhealthy, very effeminate men. They wear suits, they're polished, they wear makeup on TV. They are not masculine in the sense that they show strength, they show character. They're just prim and proper. They've got their speeches that are laid out, and they're very, let's say, like the whole corporate culture in of itself. People, one of the most common things you'll hear about corporate culture is bitchiness.
Yeah.
Even from the men. They're bitchy men. They'll step on people, you'll climb up a ladder. The fact that there is a ladder to climb up on, it's like you're climbing over other people, which means that you've actually got to sort of channel some of the less masculine traits. Not saying that females are the only ones who are bitchy, but what I mean is that men tend to handle things head on.
Overtly. Yeah.
Like, if I have a problem with you, it's going to be known fairly quickly, just because I'm not the type of person to be passive aggressive. I'll just be aggressive. And in the sense
I love this so much,
like,
man. I found my people, man.
Look, man, it's so funny, bro. Like, it keeps coming back to the same thing. We have the mindset of some people, like, you think, everyone's like this. Why is everyone like this? But the reality is, man, that like you said earlier, even people that you don't agree with on whether Donald Trump is a good person or not, but these people you have more in common with. And it's so important to just talk and be real about stuff and not have the basic bubblegum conversation, because people know and they can feel comfortable in talking to you. They can feel comfortable with being real around you. It's so important, because you'll find your people eventually. You'll find people, it's not all about finding people who you agree with, but you have a really good time with people you connect with. Like, we've been talking now for over 2 hours. When you told me that, I was genuinely surprised. I thought I'd been here like 40 minutes, because for me, this is a very, very warm experience. I'm having a great time talking about real things with you. And it's this conversation is important far beyond what, you know, people listening to this. It's far beyond this little conversation.
Of course,
far beyond this. People are going to be listening to this going, oh, you know what? Like, next time I see Dills, I'm looking at him like a different person, because I've sort of seen into his mind a little bit. I can understand. I didn't agree with everything he said, and I certainly don't expect every person to agree, but I'm not afraid of having a different opinion to someone. 100%. That's okay. That's all right.
It shows you don't have such a fragile worldview.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right, man. And the thing is, though, is I try to be respectful as possible. I mean, some people disagree, but I try to basically be as respectful as possible without being too overly bearing with what I think. You know, there's been parts of my life where I've been too, like, I'm trying to change people's minds.
Yeah.
In the past, some of the dialogue I would have with even people close to me, I'd be like, they'd have an opinion, and I'd go, but that's stupid. So what I've gotten really good at, and I guess more sophisticated in, is going, okay, why do you think that? Do you think that for any particular reason? Oh, well, I think it because my personal experience has led me to think that, okay, well, if it's your personal experience and you have experienced that, I won't discount it. But if it's based on something that you've been told or you heard somewhere and you just want to emulate the person that said it and you want to sound cool in conversations, I'm going to pick it apart. Because it's better for me to tell you what the truth is than you operate in the world going, oh, but like I heard like that chick on that podcast, like she said that thing, and I really liked how it sounded, made her sound cool.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll get to what people really think in conversations like this, but you have to be able to have some of those nittier, grittier conversations to really get deeper.
Yeah,
you know,
and you need to
think.
define sometimes, especially with the women in my life. It's like, and I'm again sure you heard this. What's the objective here? Because or women and men, sorry, but women, it's. Do you need me just to listen? Because I can. Do you want my advice? Because that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes people just need to let it out and connect. And I'm like, I'll be ears. But if we're going to talk about what might be fundamentally true, you can't expect the polite version of me. You get the truth and everything that comes with that, basically.
I think every guy can agree that most of the time a female counterpart will want to just speak and be heard. Rather than be given advice. I generally have noticed about women in general is that a lot of the time being heard is more impactful. They often come to the right answer anyway, but they just want to be heard along the way. So that's one thing I really had to adjust with my personality and wanting to have a deeper level like relationship is that, well, I just have to take what my partner is saying and not need to solve the issue, which is just me to a T. Like, you got an issue. Okay, I don't like issues. I like
You're like
solutions.
A, B.
I like solutions. So, and what that tends to produce is someone who doesn't feel heard or doesn't, you're not holding space. I think men, another part of the divine masculine trait is to create space and hold space. So as men, we literally make the space safe.
Yeah.
Everyone knows if it all broke out into chaos right now, men are safer than women, and it just is what it is. So literally down to the most fundamental thing, the space that we are living in and we call our home is safer because I'm here.
Yeah.
And so even down to when you want to express your feelings, it's such a good quality for a man to be able to hear. And by the way, I'm not fucking perfect at this.
Of course, yeah.
I make many mistakes with just being too abrupt and too eager to get to the solution. I don't want to hear problems. I want to hear solutions. So I sometimes still fall prey to that part of myself, but my best, most enlightened self is getting better at hearing an issue for what it is, but also for what it is not. It is not a cry for help a lot of the times. Okay. It's a cry for ears. And it's taken me so long to really hear that and go, okay, all right, there's so many things that I hear that I don't agree with, and yet I'm not going to impose my opinion because it's not what you're wanting.
Yeah.
It's not what you're wanting.
I think a part of that is, as men, obviously we're more inclined to masculine. In my experience, that's when I feel most fulfilled. But women every individual is both masculine and feminine.
Right.
So part of that is giving the women the space to have their masculine decision-making energy so that they have the agency to make the choices as well.
Yeah.
Like you just said it, they very often arrive at their own conclusion. But again, you just said it, giving the space that allows them to fulfill the totality of their being, which is masculine and feminine.
Yeah, that's right. So even men, we have feminine parts to our personality, of course. The part of the man as well that is even like able to listen, a lot of that is channeling a quite feminine.
I believe that 100%. Yeah.
Because you have to have these different elements of it. It's whether you, and the funny thing with that is that we all know that to be true. We all intrinsically know that we have these feminine parts and the masculine parts. So to go along with this new world where it's like there is no such thing as masculine and feminine, you sort of go, so what are these parts of myself then?
Yeah, and why do I have a mum and a dad?
And why are there parts of me that I'm thankful that I get from my mum? Like a lot of me. So I always say like most of the good shit in me is from my mum, and I'm happy to say that. But a lot of the things that make me me and make me magnetic, they come from my dad. I don't necessarily always like them though.
Yeah.
But to say that those things are not masculine and not feminine is a total waste of time. They are. Each of us is made up of masculine and feminine. There is no sort of in between when you characterize parts of yourself. You know? There's no trans spirit that is both masculine and feminine at the same time and is not one or the other.
Exactly, yeah.
It's actually just one sort of working in with the other one. And so it's a beautiful thing. The same as language. Like English is a denomination of Latin. It came from the Latin mother language. Latin has feminine and masculine elements to it. And so there is no in between. We can't, there is no need for an in between. And now this is not, we're not extrapolating this out into people, into individuals. There is a need for people to be who the fuck they want to be. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that, you know, it's just everything in life has been so the same for so long. And yet we're now trying to alter everything. And it's just, let's just remember that, like, basically no one would be here without a man and a woman. So who cares about the in-between?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even if you have because it does exist, a more feminine father and a more masculine women, I think the duality is always going to be a masculine.
It doesn't matter.
feminine
It doesn't matter.
duality,
It literally doesn't matter whether your mum is more like aggressive and she wears the pants, and your dad is more submissive and he's a listener and he doesn't like confront. That's okay. There's still a man and a woman, right? There's still two different sides of the same coin that you draw from and that you are able to interface with and pull the best of each. Like, I think it's true that your kids are always a better version of you because at least the potential's still there, you know? And I think that every parent can sort of relate to the fact that they want their kids to be better than them. And so, and I think that every parent believes that their child can be better. Like, no, you're better.
Because it's you with the resources you never had when you were younger.
That's right, yeah.
So, but you can now give that.
That's right. And there's also layers of life lessons and awareness that you so badly want to bestow upon them. Like, I want to have these deep conversations with my kids and really tell them, like, hey, like, trust me when I say it. Like, my mum used to say to me, she goes, Dylan, I was young once. Do you get that? I was you. She used to say to me, and I'm like, you could never understand, blah, blah, blah.
It's not a fucking phase, Mom.
But it's so funny. Like, they literally did go through the same thing, the heartbreaks, the arguments, the disagreements, the life lessons, the jobs, the interviews, all of these things they went through. And I think that for me, I think that I'm going to carry the torch for my family. But then when I look on and go, actually, the future is bigger than me. My kids, I just want to have such a deep and powerful conversations with, so I can guard their mind from being penetrated by these fucking insane ideologies that are in the world today, and go, hey, listen, you are an amazing miracle that you came here. So you have to treat other people the same way. The faith that they basically install faith in kids that everyone around them is also a being with a soul, that everyone is valuable. So to talk deeply about it, and then also help them understand that it's you. Everything is you. You've got to control your fate. You've got to do the work. You've got to do. So I look forward to these hugely important conversations I have with my kids, and I just think that is one of the best ways you can interact with the next generation.
And
you know,
you can't be there making every decision for them.
That's right.
But at most, you can guide them or arm them with the tools for them to make the right decisions when they come to it.
That's right. But also try as best as you can. And it's so hard to be good all the time. And it's so hard to be the perfect person, although you want to be that for your kids. But you sort of want to showcase if you're a man and if you're a woman, you sort of want to showcase the best of femininity. You want to showcase the best of masculinity. So at least these people that you're bringing up, they have their guiding factor in their life.
Yeah.
They go, okay, now my dad was like this, so men should sort of be like this, you know? 'Cause
Yeah, exactly.
I always saw that, like, this trait, because kids are perceiving life in the same way we are, but they're just not as sophisticated or eloquent with how to put it to words. But they're watching how your dad is strong in conversation and people respect what he says. People don't, do him wrong, and they don't because they respect him. There's a certain currency that men go by, and there's an aura that some men have where reciprocity and always doing well by other people.
Integrity in
it
absence.
somehow gains these people who you can sense that they want to be around your dad, and there's a reason why. There's a magnetism to him. So that in of itself is a better lesson than any conversation could be. So it's actually, it's important. And I'm learning that as a young dad. Like, I'm certainly not, I haven't been doing this long, but what I sort of am more attuned to seeing now, and what I am noticing a lot more now, is when your kids start to grow up, and I have a lot of young dads around me, but there are some of the dads around me that have like 5, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and they are operating in a way that showcases who they are, how to be a man, more so than just having the conversation. And that's actually more impactful. And you're sort of joining in on it, and you're almost like including these young people in this collaboration. So when I see some of these dads, they bring their kids to the gym and they're training and this and that, you sort of joining in, you're going, you know, your dad is so fit, you know that, yeah? And it's like, you're sort of showcasing some of the qualities that you want them to strive for. And it's like, you know, you got to get up early. Like I had one of the young ones come in today. She goes, this isn't my normal waking time. She's a really vibrant little girl. This girl, a very, very close friend of mine is her dad. And I go, yeah, but you know what? Sometimes it's hard to get up early, but you got to get up early. And that way you'll be able to look like your dad when you're getting older, like him. Like, look how good he looks. And it's a part of this whole dance that you do. You know how it's like it takes a village to raise a child. And so it takes...
I like to add on to that. It takes a village to support a mother to raise a child.
Yeah.
I like that little iteration.
Well,
of
it's
it.
true. It's very true, man. And trust me, man, young mums, they really go through it. My partner goes through it. Sometimes it's hard to relate to females, especially in this point when women are most women. When women have, and I use that carefully, I'm not saying a woman is more so a woman than any other time, but what I'm saying is that when a woman becomes a mother, her feminine attributes are in overdrive. The anxiety of their child choking on food, huge. Man, I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
But it's a feminine trait to be hyper anxious about these things.
But this is why women are able to read social cues a lot better than men.
100%.
Is because this is a Peterson kind of concept, but he calls it the mother-child dyad, where they need to be able to read this child because this child cannot speak to them.
That's
so
right.
they're built in to have this kind of connection with the child in a different way. Yeah,
They're so in tune, and they'll showcase that in so many unique ways. Like, oh, I just noticed when I do this, like her bum gets red when I do this. So I'm going to make sure that I do it like this, and make sure you dry it here. And they're thinking about every little thing all at once. Like, oh no, I'm going to mash this a little bit more because I know she doesn't like it when this pasta's a little bit too chunky. It's like, man, just feed it to her. But that's why she's her mum.
Exactly.
And I'm her dad.
That's the duality.
That's the duality. It's the dichotomy. It's like we both are adding in both of what is important in life. Sometimes it's good to be anxious, and sometimes it's good to just jump. And like men represent, there's all these videos out there of like, this is why dads are important. And it'll be a kid who's like, I don't want to ride the bike without the training wheels. And you see him and he just goes, yep, throws them. And the kid's like, that's why dads are good.
100%.
That in a nutshell is just like, they give you strength and they give you confidence and they empower you, and women empower you too. But it's so empowering to have someone go, hey, you can do this. Stop being scared.
Exactly.
Just do. You know, and so I look forward to the many, many, many times I will be imposing my dadly advice.
And you and the missus are going to argue about the boundary of it.
And my missus at times is going to tell me, you were way too blunt. She'll tell me that now.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And maybe you were sometimes.
Yeah, bro. I have a habit of being too blunt, but not even out of rudeness. Sometimes I'm just like, well, what else do you want me to say?
Bro.
How much do I need to like sugarcoat what I'm saying? Like.
I want to dive into that. I'm actually curious about that. Yeah.
Ask me.
Before that, just a quick one. I heard, I don't know if it's true. You get your intellect from your mother, but your character from your father.
Bro, that's exactly what I was saying.
Exactly. I feel like it captures exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, so my dad's character, he always had a lot of friends. He was a super creative person. He speaks currently like 6 or 7 languages. He's very, very, very talented. He taught himself, like he came from nothing, proper streets. Like he was not like gifted with piano teachers and guitar teachers, and yet he taught himself how to play all this music. So it's almost like one side of his brain was hyper creative and hyper capable, especially in very like unique things. So like music, you know, he has like a musical genius to him, and yet everything else in his life, like he doesn't give a fuck about money. He does not care about success. His definition of success and my definition are completely different.
Wow.
But he had such this magnetic personality. Everywhere he went, he always made friends. He was always relatable. He was always a person that had a laugh. He could be with different cultures and sort of meld into it and become a part of it as the group. And he was someone who I would characterize, and have a little bit of experience with this, with having, you know, gym communities and stuff, but he was someone who was a part of the social glue. He was an important factor. There are some people who, whether they're there or not, it's not going to make a difference. There are some of those people, and that's, you know, but, you know, a person like my dad, he was sort of like that magnetic person, and it sort of wouldn't feel the same if he wasn't there, and that's what he's like. And that
didn't fall far, clearly.
I know that I'm aware enough to go, I have a similar aspect to me, which I can channel a magnetism. And I think what's different about me and my dad and the way that we are magnetic is my dad is so relatable and humble in a sense that he wants to relate to you through humor, through just depravity, or just like, and I mean, like, you know, he'll take the piss out of himself. He's self-deprecating. He's a person who is not too high and mighty to just laugh at the dumb shit. And I have similar parts of that, but I've sort of found my magnetism to be most potent when I'm rallying people around something.
Yeah.
And so, and these have been different personality stuff that I've done in the past as well, is that the charisma, which is a one word that comes off character, the part of my character that is active, which is my charisma, is very magnetic towards driving people.
Okay.
And it's when I get in people's when people allow me to sort of come in and talk to them bluntly and to lead them in a sense, they tend to do what they set out to do. They just do, man. And some of them don't, and that's a reality. But like, I'm working with somebody in my gym right now, and she approached me because she knew that I would be totally upfront and blunt, frankly.
Yeah.
She goes, I knew you'd just tell me how it is. We sat down, her and her husband. This chick is now like 12 kilos down. She's like, I want to get down to this weight. We surpassed that weight. She's like, I've never been this weight since I've had kids. You know, she's got 2 kids. And she was saying, like, I just need someone to just keep me accountable. And for some reason, people know. She knew. I don't know this person like too well. She's only been a member in my gym for X amount, maybe a year, maybe 18 months. But it's not like I knew intricacies of her life. We didn't know each other that well. But the one thing she knew about me was that I cut through the bullshit. And she knows.
Well, that's your branding as well.
But I'm not going to be this person who goes, oh, but you know, I just tell you like it is. And I even tell her, because I've had so much time of my time wasted with people who just don't follow through. But I sort of have this way now where I go, and people do ask me for help all the time. And I have this way of going, look, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do, and I'll be here with you 100% of the way, right? But the minute that I feel like you're no longer helping yourself, that you're no longer tuning into what it is that we're doing, I'm not going to be the one to check in on you. I'll be here with you every time you want to kick started, and you're saying, hey, man, I'm starting back, just hoping I can send you a message so I have something to keep me accountable. I'll read the messages and I'll respond to them, and I'll say, great job, man. Tomorrow, you're going to try to do this. You're going to try to do that, because I'll always jump on board when someone's doing it, when they're in their upward spiral.
Yes.
I won't jump in on someone doing a negative spiral, unless it's like someone who I know who's going to go down a very dark path of taking drugs. I'll try to come in and say, bro, what are you doing? But what I'm saying,
better than me.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't want to jump in on everyone's negative spiral, but I am right there for when you hit rock bottom, for when you're ready to positive spiral. And so that's just, and it's because I'm a no nonsense type of guy.
Yeah. Well, you can't be everyone's source, you know.
I tried that. I used to be that. I used to try to be that. And then it just, after about a year of listening to people who frankly just weren't willing to be upfront with themselves, and they were just I just go, hang on, I'm not actually serving you. Like, you're not changing. And that's fine. I got to separate myself because my energy is too important. I serve so many things from my cup. I can't be pouring into your cup. I need to see, like, you know, when you're learning something, right? You're learning something. You don't just hang around a person who has the skill set and go, hey, can you spend 10 hours with me every day until I get good? No, you go, bro, can you give me 2 pieces of advice for me to get started? This is exactly what I did on my barber journey. I got a guy to come in and show me one haircut. I did not ask this person to show me one other thing or take 1 extra second of their time until I had specific questions that he could answer. Yeah. And I just really appreciate that type of awareness, because, like, bro, how long is a piece of string? Like, you go, oh, can you give me some advice on opening a gym? Like, where do I even start, bro?
Yeah.
Where do I actually even start? Like, what are you up to? And I'll give you the legit advice on that specifically, but I can't sit here and write you a book on how to do it, because I'm still fucking trying shit out myself.
It's your life. Like, that's your journey.
But if you say to me, hey, bro, what speakers should I get? And I'd say, bro, don't get Sonos, because they're good speakers. Sometimes they break, but you have to have an internet connection to do it. And the updates. And then when you update, you lose all your and I'd tell them specifically, don't get Sonos. But that's a unique, specific piece of advice. So in the same way, I don't like it when there's just this thing of like, hey, can you fix my life?
Yeah.
So how about you fix one problem, and when you run into an issue, speak to me about that specific issue, and I'll tell you how to circumvent it.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to
or
get
just
around
what I would do in that specific scenario.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, it's hard to help people. But if you get if you get people to just start working on the smallest level. So how I help this person lose weight is I basically just said, we're going to focus on 3 pillars: movement, sleep, and your eating. So making better choices. But we never laid out a diet. We never did any of those things. I just said, you got to move a fuckload more than what you're doing now.
Fundamentals.
And you know what? She's applied it. Little things she's run into. I'm getting tired on these days. I don't like doing this. It makes my body cool. So we'll circumvent those specific things. But to go through and have someone who doesn't even try to do something for 3 weeks and not even run into any issues, like how are we going to move forward?
Yeah.
You know?
And
so
some people just think telling you about it is the validation they need to make them think they're actually doing it.
yeah, so people will use you as a tick box.
Yeah,
They'll go,
yeah,
oh, but I
yeah.
went to the gym today. Yeah, but you did nothing. You made no fucking progress.
Yeah.
And frankly, people always go, oh, but I just have no time. It's like, I can't understand a person who says they have no time.
Time is the only thing we have right
You
now.
literally have time. You just don't prioritize what you need to do. You don't do it. And just be real. Like, I'd rather talk to the guy who goes, man, I've been fucking lazy, bro. I need to get back on my shit. I'm going to write out. I'm going to make sure I get back on my shit. Other than the guy that goes, I just haven't been able to get in because I just don't have time. It's like, motherfucker, you have time.
Yeah.
Every person has time. Unless you're Elon Musk, you have some time. You know, you really do have time. Like, I bet if I broke down where your time is going, we'd find some fucking time.
Yeah, step 1, show me your screen time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, man.
and
100%.
then fucking problem solved
100%.
right there, you know?
One thing that's hard for people to really get past is to be real with yourself is an uncomfortable thing.
It is,
and to take personal responsibility. If you listen to Jordan Peterson, who's a great, great teacher of mine.
Do the accent, do the voice.
Oh, you know, yeah, you know, who's that comedian that does that voice? Well, you know, clean your room. It's not that
he
hard.
Nails it. I don't know what
he does it
is.
really well, man. I love that guy. So I love Jordan Peterson. I even love the caricatures of him. Like, but basically, take personal responsibility, and then everyone will jump on board. So if you take personal responsibility, people will help you.
Yeah.
If you just shuttle off personal responsibility all the time, no one is going to want to help you.
Yeah.
So
well, you don't want to help yourself.
that's
Like,
right. You don't
what?
want to help yourself. So anyone successful is not going to want to help you because, like, no, you're not there yet. You need to do a lot more personal development.
Yeah. And why would you not want to think or come to the realization that, yeah, you can blame others and that's safer because that means you don't need to change. But if I do it maybe even more than I should, I blame myself even if I kind of shouldn't. But I genuinely blame myself. Even if something like really bad has happened to me and I don't deserve it, I'm like, you know what? That was my fault to the extent that I could have changed it.
Yeah.
I didn't change it.
Yeah.
Now I know and I will change it. You
Yeah,
know?
and that, I think, you know, that's a very stoic way of looking at things and saying, yeah, actually everything that happens to me is basically going to be, I was a part of the recipe.
Yeah,
Unless
exactly.
Unless I can take total ownership of that, I'm never going to be happy because I'll always, the people who are outwardly projecting blame and resentment and I wish I had this and this cunt didn't do this because he's
the
this.
structures oppression.
Yeah, or I'm part of this patriarchy and I hate, man, you're going to be miserable because you have given your sovereignty, your authority, you've given it away to people and gone, I can't get somewhere because the white man is getting me down. The white old dude is stopping me from doing what I want to do. It's like, who? Who is it?
Yeah.
Really, what is the patriarchy? What are these powers that be that like so submit you to stopping you to do what you do? Like, you don't like a job? What has that got to do with anything? Go change it.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like your friends? You feel toxic around your friends? Go change your friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't feel fulfilled. Yeah, but you're not doing anything to serve anybody. So who is making you miserable? It's every time it's you.
Just for the just because this is being published, I 80% agree with you, but and we won't dive into it now. But
Cool.
there is an argument to be made about in groups not allowing others in based on their certain characteristics.
So like a gatekeeping sort of thing.
A gatekeeping sort of thing.
Yeah,
so I
so
can
like-
kind of see how
Yeah, I
sometimes,
understand.
you know, but the reasons behind it we'd probably agree on.
Yeah, I think so. I think without going into it, basically
Yeah.
what you have to accept is that people will be mean to you in life.
That's what I've said to people is like, all right, sure, someone's putting you down for this certain thing, but have you considered that if you had another thing, they were just going to put you down for that other thing as well?
Right.
They're always just looking to put you down on the thing.
Yeah.
And whether you're a woman or this or that, they're just finding a thing that hurts.
Yep.
So why would you take anything personal by anyone?
But also, you're never going to, even if the person is doing you wrong, there's a fact here that needs to be heard. It's like sometimes people are mean to you and they keep you down. They stop you doing what you want to do. Okay. But you have to accept that you are still there and it's like, oh, well, I need the job. It's like, you need a job. You need a job. You could be doing something. You could at night search for other things.
Yeah.
You could, in your off time, start building something on the side. You could take the personal responsibility above and beyond what is usually considered to be enough. So it's like, well, I've got a boss and he's a tyrant and he just speaks to me like shit and I hate it and I'm sort of fixed in because I've got a finance on a car, I've got a mortgage and I need to earn this money. I've got kids and I can't just go up and look for a new job every day. And it's like, no, but you might need to get out of this place. And that's as simple as that, because like your boss is probably not going to stop being a tyrant, especially if he's a grown man who's still being a tyrant towards subordinates at work or people that work under them. Like, I've experienced people like this, and I think to myself, you won't lead for very long. You will be found out eventually. But sometimes they don't, man. In corporate, like this is why I would never fit in corporate.
I got out of corporate. I fucking suffocated in corporate.
It's a horrible place for a critical thinker.
Because they literally penalize you for having your own individuality.
Right.
But that's the beauty of corporate is it's this cold, detached, removed, very well functioning beast. But you as an individual need to operate within that parameter.
Yeah.
If you want to express yourself the way you want to do things, you can. It's very clearly you're outside of the structure and you're no longer in group.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it in corporate.
Yeah. Look, I've had jobs that you would consider to be corporate, although I can honestly say I've never climbed a corporate ladder. I've never been in an organization like Commonwealth Bank or like a huge bank or a financial company or like something where there's like, team leader, then there's like a department head, and there's like a general manager, and then there's HR. And I've never had to be a part of a system like that, but I just know in myself I'm just way too gruff and like someone who
honest.
I just cannot stand stupid fucking behavior. Like I sometimes hear about some of my friends and they talk to me about like what they have to do at work, the types of emails they have to send, like the fact that they've been hit up by HR because they made a joke. And it's like, I find it to be this really toxic part of the working society where people have to change basically normal ways to communicate. Actually, communication that brings people closer, like taking the piss out of each other is a way that people build social fabric. Yeah. So that's why, people really enjoy going into trades because they can be themselves on site. Like me and my gym, we are not a politically correct place. It is not somewhere where you...
God bless.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, well, if we can't laugh about the ridiculousness of life...
And yourself.
Because sometimes we behave ridiculously. Yeah. So if we can't laugh at that, then we can never laugh at ourselves. And if we can't laugh at ourselves, all is lost. So I have to be able to take the piss out of you because you have to be able to take the piss out of me. That's just the agreement we have.
And if there's some truth in it, look at it.
And it's funny. It's funny, man. And the fact is, like, you build your people, you build your community. And I think that how corporate is that you could never say half of the things that are actually going to bring you closer. Yeah. And that's the problem with it, is that it just ends up with people going, oh, well, he was mean to me. And it's like, oh, but no, it wasn't. I just said a joke about you being Lebanese or something like that. Yeah. It's funny. I have a lot of Lebo friends. We all laugh about that sort of stuff. Yeah. And it's funny because it's not actually malicious. That's the thing, Like, it's not actually like something where you're like,
intense, yeah,
the intent. Like, I'm not actually being racist to you. Like, that's ridiculous because I love you. You're my mate. But we're laughing because there are stereotypical things that Lebos do, that Greeks do, that Maltese do, that people do. True. And it's funny. It's funny. So just laugh at it. Why does it have to be this thing where it's like, oh my God, how offensive? Like, oh, fuck off. Yeah. It's so done and played out, that whole offense. Like
100%. And not to take away from women that genuinely have been harassed at work by a tyrant boss. But this whole Me Too thing that we've gone through as well, we've removed flirtation completely from the workforce. How many people found their partners at work? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of disconnect as well now because you're not even allowed to, God forbid, because of COVID, like physically touch, even if it's innocently. Right. We've removed the whole avenue of connection as well. Yeah. But I guess the positive of that is, now bosses are too scared to commit anything that is harassment against women. But what about the 99% of men that aren't doing anything bad?
Well, the thing is it still happens regardless of what you do. It's still going to happen because when you put men and women into environments, they tend to communicate as men and women do. And this is very clear. Like it's very clear. You go into any place and it's like you communicate with women differently than you communicate with the boys.
Yeah.
You talk about stuff is different, and you're right, a lot of people meet their partner at work, and
but
so
women are suffering as well because they're like, oh, I can't find the right man, because socially now men are too fucking scared and castrated to make any move at all.
yeah,
So everyone is suffering from this kind of disconnect between the sexes, basically.
100%. Do you think there's more disconnect between men and women now than ever?
100%.
Yeah.
I think we don't even know how to human anymore. I genuinely believe it. Like, I think we're so far removed. I feel like the quality of human being has reduced so much that we've become this like linear, mechanical, follow the rules, literally, symbolically, follow the lines, literally, symbolically, things that there's nowhere to maneuver in it.
Yeah.
I think 100% we're disconnected.
And I think that you're right, and I think that that's what makes a person who is not necessarily good at following the rules attractive.
Yes, man. I know.
don't mean
Yeah.
attractive as in men and women. I mean like you just want to be around that motherfucker that just rebels and goes, nah, fuck this. I don't like doing this shit. I want to make my own way, and so that's
And I want to make my own mistakes as well.
That's been a big thing for me, bro. Is that like I think people look in and see that I'm on a mission. I'm doing this and that. I'm constantly innovating and evolving myself, and so people, they're like, that's a part of the magnetism. Remember how I said being sure of yourself and making decisions in your life, there's an element to defining that magnetism inside. Like once you become a person like that, people go, I like how you operate, man.
Yeah.
I like how you just do shit and that you just make it happen. Like I want you to win. And so you suddenly magnetize your people towards you, and you start, you know, building that community, and people see you for what you are through your actions.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, man.
I think a part of the masculinity as well is like knowing that you don't always need to be alpha top dog leading the way.
Right.
Like in my masculinity, if I see another man in the group that like, I'm like, I respect the decisions he makes and he seems to be making the right decisions.
Right.
I don't feel the ego need to be like, no, I need to be the one making the decision.
Right.
I'm like, wait, the decisions are good. I'm happy to follow, you know, and you're kind of saying it, but you are on that pathway. You have found your calling.
Yeah.
I want to see where you go. I want to be a
100%.
part of your journey,
100%.
your story as well.
Well, bro, I'll be tuning into your story as well. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how your journey unfolds, and I'll be keeping a watchful eye because I like to see men win. I like to see people win in general. But, you know, one thing that served me in my experience running businesses is I've always had a round table. So anybody that works with me, one, I always say, even when I speak to people in a private setting, like, this person doesn't work for me, they work with me. And that's so true. Like I'm really upfront with that because I don't like there to be this thing. We're working on this together, man. Yes, I fucking signed the lease, but without you, without my team around me, I actually couldn't have built what I have, and we wouldn't be where we are now. So a round table approach to going, I am the person that did it and signed the things and bought the things, but I need the ideas of this community here to be able to propel forward. So you have to be humble enough to listen to your circle. If you don't want to listen to your circle, then it's the wrong circle. You don't trust these people and you don't see any value in them. But I've always had the approach of, listen, your idea, if it's good, it'll stand up against all of my questions. It'll stand up against, and I'll go, why? And then at the end of that, and everyone around me that works with me in a professional setting, they know that I'm gonna give pushback initially. I'm gonna say, well, what about this? What do we do with that? And that's okay. Doesn't mean that I think your idea is shit. It's just that if it's going to be a good idea, it's got to stand up against these things. So round table, as a leader, you will go very far if you keep the table round instead of being at the head of the table, which no one likes that person. No one likes that person. Micromanager, this and that. Like one of the flaws of my management style is that sometimes people don't do what you wish they would do. Okay. Maybe they don't turn the light off. Maybe they don't take care of this. Maybe they don't clean this up. But ultimately, if you're going to be the type of leader that absolutely picks up everything that a person does wrong and not, you know, basically just be grateful for the fact that they did the job 98% correctly, you're going to have a hard time because people are going to go, why the fuck do you care if I left that light on? I never bring that shit up. Now, somebody who I remember studying in business in year 12, like the different management styles.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember one, and it's the only management style I remember other than like a
charismatic,
micromanager.
authoritarian, or whatever.
Yeah, authoritarian. But maybe the one that I really remember and really sort of are still digesting is a term called laissez-faire.
Mm.
Do you know what that means?
I've heard it, but
Laissez,
no.
when someone's laissez or they're laissez-faire, it means that they're hands off the steering wheel. They're
Just
chill.
laissez-faire.
I'm
Just-
laissez. I
we're
don't
just chilling.
care. Now, I'm always thinking to myself, am I too laissez-faire? But you know, the reality is, nah, man. My team know that if I'm asking you directly for something, if there's a silent, understood currency that if I'm asking you, it's something that I want and I expect. But I won't. The agreement is that I won't ask you for dumb shit.
Yeah.
I won't press dumb shit with you. I'm not going to come and tell you, hey, bro, you forgot to turn off the light. Bro,
As much as you want
You
to.
know what? I'll fucking turn off the light myself, and I don't give a fuck about the 8 hours that the light was on, because ultimately it doesn't matter. You've got to spend your leadership capital carefully. And when you spend a big chunk of your leadership capital, you're going to empty that bank account really quickly if you spend it on things like you didn't turn the light off, you didn't do this. I've had many of my customers and many of my members in my gym tell me 6 months in, I didn't know you were the only owner of VA. I thought, you know, these guys were also your partners, because like I never really noticed there being a difference between
Clear hierarchy.
Yeah,
like,
well, there is no clear hierarchy. Any of us that are working in there, it's very organic and it's very round table, and it's because I don't fucking go. I don't bring up bullshit. That's one really masculine thing that I bring into my leadership is I don't nitpick.
Yeah.
Is that the term? Nitpick?
Yeah.
I don't nitpick stupid shit to pull my team up on. If it's something that I need, like they already know, man. My team is so respectful.
But that's because you've allowed them.
But they
the
might not do
opportunity,
everything perfect all the time. Who will? I don't do everything perfect as the owner. But you know what? I'm grateful that they even came and did it pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it, bro. And there's just no point in being that type of person that just nitpicks. So a lot of micromanagers, a lot of very neurotic and sensitive to negative emotion type people who are going, oh my God, I can't believe they fucking forgot to turn the light off. Oh, they must think I'm a fucking dumb cunt. They want to wait. No, they're not thinking that. They're not thinking that. They don't care about the light. That's why. And you shouldn't really either. It's a light.
Yeah.
Are you really going to go and bring this up and have them have a sour taste in their mouth over a light being on? Fuck that.
But you should be able to talk about it as well.
Hey, but listen, if I come in and the door's left open overnight and I've got $150,000 worth of gym equipment in there, and I go, bro, what are you doing? Why would you leave the door open? And I start flaming him for that. They're gonna know, man, this guy never raises his voice or never gets upset. This is a feeling I never want to experience again. So if I need to have that, and they've never done that. But say if I need I want my message when I say it, when I need, or when I'm asking, or when I'm telling, I need it to be heard with the level that I'm telling it. If I'm telling you about the light, right, and I'm telling you, oh, can you clean up this coffee cup? Oh, can you fucking do this? Can you do this? If I'm hitting them with every little thing, when I hit them with something big, they're going to be like, this cunt's always fucking nagging at me. But you have to be humble enough to go, bro, they don't care about the coffee cup, and that's okay. They didn't sign the lease. I signed the lease. So stop being a bitch yourself. Clean the fucking coffee cup. They're here and they're showing up to work, so be grateful for that. And you know what? They never let me down. I can tell you my team has never, ever let me down. And even if they did, depending on exactly what it was and what the intention was, I still wouldn't flame them. I still wouldn't, because there's no point. And as a leader, you take on that responsibility to be able to connect to people and go, we all fuck up. And that's what makes the best bosses you had or have are the people that you genuinely can just be yourself with. They accept you for who you are, and you want to work hard for them because you know that there's a respect.
It's the distinction between just being a manager and micromanager and a leader.
Yeah.
Where in the leading sense, they want to now follow you because you've given them the agency to make the decisions and the mistakes themselves.
Agency, that's huge. Giving people the freedom to operate how they want to, how they want to be a coach, how they want to do PT, how they want to invite people in. And you've got to be there. And a smart team leader or a smart leader in general will allow people to just be. Same with the government. Stop encroaching on my life. Let me just fucking do how I want to do it. You know?
That's linked to having a fulfilled job. So I'm going to say there was a study, but I've heard somewhere that people who have a fulfilling job usually have a role that allows them to make decisions that impacts the outcome of the job. Yeah. So if people don't feel like that, like you're just a pen pusher or this or that, that's when people most feel like they're doing nothing with their life. Yeah. So in the circle you're creating, you're allowing people to feel fulfilled in the decision they're making. That's right. And that's kind of strengthening the glue, the cohesion
100%.
even stronger there.
100%. Yeah. Do you work a 9 to 5?
I work a fucking 7 to 5 to 6. Yeah.
Wow, damn. So you're working.
So I'm in management construction. Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So everything you're saying, I'm fucking 100% coming on
Yeah,
as
man.
well. And
Yeah.
we certainly have a personality for it.
Yeah.
You got to be able to chill out, but I'm pretty much the same. That's fine. I've accepted that.
That's all right.
You're still shining. That's
I'm
good.
all right.
You're the main event. You're just gonna be on screen right now.
I'm here, guys. I'll carry it.
You'll carry
If
it.
I have to do it, I
will. But yeah, pretty much. I completely 100% relate that it's it's just management styles. We have that personality. It's A to B. This needs to get done. You give people the agency, but not 9 to 5. It's probably a bit worse than that. Yeah.
But do you enjoy it?
I love it, man. I
Yeah.
love it. I used to hate it because I wasn't good at it. And now I've been doing it for pushing 6 years now. I've learned that it's situations have gotten bad and I've always, every single time, gotten through with it. You know what I mean? So no matter how bad a situation gets, I'm just like, yep, it's just another fucking day. We're going to get past it.
Right.
What do we do?
Yeah.
How do we get past this?
Yeah.
You fucked up. It's fine. I'm really good at easing people's mistakes.
Yes.
But also because I really need to be kind to myself when I make a mistake. If I make a mistake, fuck me. It's a
We're the
horrible
worst.
place to be in my head.
Yeah.
Like everything of my whole existence over small things, I really ruminate. But so when someone else makes a mistake, I try give them the energy I really want to give myself.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a pretty fucking hard boss as well. Like,
I mean, look,
like,
you have to
yeah.
have both elements of it. Otherwise, people take the piss out of you. People have to know, like, this guy doesn't, like, there has to be an exchange of respect to the degree that no one's going to waste your time because they respect you too much, because you've earned that respect because you don't come to them with shit. Man, you've disappointed me today because I usually think that I can just leave you with stuff and I've come back here and you haven't done it. Tell me why.
that's my thing is like,
Tell me why, man.
Yeah,
Like, why did you think I'd be happy with this? And then they go, bro, I didn't even know, you know? And then you've got to be able to relate and go, okay, I need to be able to leave you with this, and you're thinking laterally about this whole thing. Like, this is I'm going to stay back personally. I'm going to make this shit happen. And then there's always ways that you can still derive and still have a transaction where respect is given, not roasting. Sometimes cunts need to get roasted. Sorry about the C word there.
No. We're not sponsored yet, so
we're not
fuck
sponsored,
cunt, bitch. Yeah.
But sometimes people need to hear the roughness and the reality of not thinking.
Yeah.
So they understand, listen, bro, you get a long leash and you're a very valued person here, but you can't just let me down like this. Because I'm not going to let you down. Like, I pay your wage every single week. Has there ever been a problem?
Yeah.
Have I ever missed? I've always put money in, even when I didn't have it. I put from my personal bank account into your account. Did I ever miss it? No. So why do you think that you couldn't do this for me? Like, why did you think that was the case?
Yeah.
Now, people will be like, they'll do one of two things, and this will either decide whether they're going to be a part of your team or not. And this has actually happened to me, where I've actually tried to create and help people to be a part of the fold. And they're either going to go, you know what? Fuck how you're making me feel right now. You're making me feel small. This is basically what it is. You in your position, doing what I want to do, basically, you've made me feel small. So I no longer am going to be able to contribute, and I'm going to go because of how I feel right now. Or they're going to go, you know what, man? You're fucking right. I let you down, but you didn't do the same to me. And I can see you're trying to do shit. And you know what? The way you communicated with me has made me feel emotional in the fact that I feel like you're really roasting me. So as long as I can understand that you don't hate me as a person, we can move on from this. But I made a mistake. I didn't mean to let you down. Can we move forward as men? And if they can say that to you, bro, and I've had that. I've literally had people go, bro, I've fucked up and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I go, I trust you. I trust you that you're going to actually understand moving forward how it is I need you to be. And then I've had people go, no, you hurt my feelings, I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In that scenario, I feel like the people aren't respecting you as the master and the visionary. So if they're not giving you that kind of, because at the end of the day, I get what you're saying, round table hierarchy, but they are extensions of you. It is your vision at the end of the day. And I know you have the humility and you don't want to say it so overtly, but that's the reality. This is your vision. You have the oversight.
Yeah.
If they're actually going to try step on your toes in that regard, then again, goodbye and good riddance if they can't actually see the vision that way.
Yeah, so you've got to be really cognizant of the fact that you are rallying people around a goal. And if they get sidetracked from the goal and they start looking at it and internalizing things as a personal issue, and like they start bringing in what they're going through personally in their life. One, again, man, I'm not a super humble person to begin with. I've learnt to be humble in most situations, but there is a lot of times where I'm the exact opposite. I'm so hyper confident in myself where I go, yeah, I at the risk of sounding arrogant, bro, I truly believe that I can do anything I set my mind to. And so that belief has allowed me to do what I'm doing. So I don't really give a fuck if it makes people upset. But basically, if a person gets sidetracked in your team and they're internalizing and becoming, everything's about them and what they need from the business. And that what you need to remind them is that no one person is bigger than the business. The business is everyone included. So and this is when some people need to really be put in their place with humility. You don't need to drag people, although sometimes you want to. You just need to remind them, you are not bigger than the business. Without this business, this person suffers and their family suffers. This person suffers, I suffer, everyone suffers. So how do you think that I think about you? You're a small fish compared to what I carry. And if you can't get on board with it and understand your place, then there is no place for you. And that's happened, and it's okay. That does happen.
That hurt me, even though it wasn't just happening to me.
I know, bro. And that's a tough pill for some dudes to swallow, especially men, because when another man speaks to you in the sense where he's defining whether you're acceptable in his team or not, or whether you can even be here, or they call you out on some shit I'll tell you the most hurtful part is when you know they're right.
That I was just going to say that. It's the truth in what you're saying that hurts the most.
When I, in the past where I've had to actually really set someone in their place, it's the truth of what I'm saying that I know stings them. And it's like they can't face it. And that's okay. You got to go out and do what you got to do. And you would have been better off going, you're fucking right. And even though I might not agree with everything you've said, man, there's truth in what you're saying, and I'm man enough to fucking admit it, and I want to be better. Can I still be around you?
Yeah.
Can I still do what you're doing? I still want to do it. And otherwise they're not even worthy of what you got to do, because, man, I got shit to do. I got things to do. I can't be having this weak energy around me where I got to like tippy-toe around you because you might have some personal shit. Everyone's got personal shit, man, but we don't bring that into what we do. You know, I always say to my team, like, this isn't work. We're lucky to do what we do. Even I'm lucky, and I'm lucky to have the people I do have around me. They've helped me, and we've evolved, and my team is it's such an organic thing. I don't think there's many more truly organic connections that that people have. I think that my team is genuinely one of the most organic setups. Like, cause just the way that I am, I don't like things to be rigid. I don't like things to be commercialized the structure is so easily set. Like, we're all on the same level. It's just that I'm going to remind you about the shit that I just need a little bit extra at times to keep the whole thing going.
Yeah.
And people who are in that team and they experience the generosity, they experience the understanding, they experience the flexibility. Leaders need to be flexible.
Yeah.
People got shit on. They might need to fucking get up and go across the world to some thing that they need to go to. And you got to go, okay, man, you haven't disappointed me at all, because I know life is life and you got to do it. You don't hold it against them.
Yeah.
Now, if a person is going to you, hey, I can only work here, this because I don't want to work, basically. I don't want to work on Mondays anymore. It's my only day I get to have with the missus. And I don't want to work Tuesday nights because it's like not really worth me coming in for one class. And I just feel like, this person gets all the good shifts. Bro, there's no place for you. There is no place for you because you are just making everything about you, and we don't have space for someone like that. So, leadership, man, it comes with lots of areas that you have to go into, and actually some of those conversations, man, I look back on, and they are still things that I reflect on and go, did I handle it right? Was it 100%? I know I was 100% right. My righteous part of me is going,
like, objectively right.
Objectively, man, what leg, like the argument whether you're right is less strong than my argument whether I'm right. But that's not actually the definition of leadership, who's right all the time. The definition of leadership is, can a person be wrong and a person be right and you still get to the goal? That is what a really good leader can do. And for the most part, man, I've been very successful in getting my team to help me progress in what I'm doing. And so I'm really grateful for that. Have there been a few like random people that are just like too caught up in what they're doing, and it just, I don't know, there's like a sense of like, there's an element of selfishness and bitterness in like their own life that made them unable to truly understand the mission that we're on as a team. And if you can't understand that, that's okay, but you can't be in this team.
Yeah.
You're
The
gonna
stories don't fit, basically.
you're going to have to go into or make your own team. And the reality is these people will never make their own teams because they're so into what they need. You know what I mean? So
And so much easier to critique from the sidelines as well.
man. And no disrespect to anybody. I'm sure people have all had encounters in their life where they've had to set people straight and this and that. This is not like me talking down to anyone, but you know what I mean? It's just a reality of leadership, and I've got to be able to tell the story that I've experienced, you know? So, but I love being a leader. I think the best parts of myself have been highlighted and amplified as in a leader. I think that I was a naturally born leader. I believe that in any situation I'm in, my voice is always going to be heard. I was a class clown in high school too.
Yeah.
So I've channeled that class clown and that thing of trying to get people to laugh with me and sort of bring levity to the situation. I've actually found this deep passion in leading people forward of where you are now. It doesn't matter if you get there in a day or a year, but you're going to go forward. When you're near me, you're going to go forward.
Yeah,
that's what people do, you know? So
did that evolve over time?
It definitely evolved over time.
But it's also always been there? How's that work? Is it something that kind of came?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
I don't have any brothers and sisters. I have a cousin who's very close to me, very close to my heart. We grew up together and we're like brothers. We're a little bit like chalk and cheese, but we're very close. Like I know deep down, you know, he's the type that you call up and bury a body together, that type of closeness. And
theoretical body.
Yes, you know, alleged bodies.
Alleged bodies.
No, but yeah, so I grew up as an only child, so I've always been running my own race. I've always needed to, because I actually moved to a school in an area that I was not from in high school. High school is the most developmental, character-wise, intellect-wise, like you turn into the baseline person that you are in high school. And I started off high school knowing no one in the area. I was not from the area. I came there from the other side of Melbourne, which is completely different, east of Melbourne. And when I came into this place, I had to inject myself into these different groups and put on this mask and put on this persona. And I've always been doing that my whole life. Like, as we all do, we all wear our masks. We all project our person that we are. And I have always been the type of person that I'm like, I'm going to have my voice heard. Like, if we're in a group, I'm never going to be the person that is picked on, to the sense that I'll always stand up for myself. So I'm not an easy target, put it that way. I'm not someone that just gets ran over and like picked on, because I'm always going to give it back worse. I'm going to always give it back the exact same that I get it. And so I've always found a way to be a leader in the sense that I wasn't ever going to follow. And I mean that in the sense that I just wanted to be the person who helped move forward. As I developed as a man, I didn't know this at first, and it's hard to as a young man. You don't know that you want to help people move forward. But as I became a man in my mid-20s, because it really did take me that long, when I was 25, 26, 27, still made heaps of mistakes. But what I realized that I loved about what I was doing, I started a gym, but it wasn't fitness anymore. It was leading people.
That's the difference.
I liked to bring the best out of people. And it took me a long time to realize that, like, oh, this isn't just because I love training. It's because I love being that energy that makes people want to come and train. And I've been that for people for 7 years now. I have been, and even before, really, because I was a PT before, for years before. And so nearly over 10 years now, I've been the person that gets people into the gym. So what is it really that I love? Is it really fitness? It's not. What I really love that keeps me coming back is the people and leading people. I want to be the person that gets you in the gym, because my cup gets filled that way. I was never going to be the guy doing the spreadsheets, this and that, because that doesn't fill my cup. I need to be like, when you invited me here, I thought to myself, what a great opportunity to meet someone, have a conversation, talk, and actually just get fulfillment. I love it. A lot of people might have said, oh, nah, man, it's not really my thing. And that's fine too. But I love connecting with people. I love it. And it just so happens that I'm passionate about fitness, health and fitness generally, moving, training, all of this stuff I'm super passionate about. So why not have that as the vector? Why not have that as the vehicle that I move and I help change and I do that stuff? So fundamentally, I got into running a gym because I loved fitness, but I stayed in the fitness lane because I loved connecting and leading people.
I think a big part of that as well is like having the confidence to lean into the masculinity. Because there's like a sort of like a shift that needs to happen where you need to accept that within yourself and go, wait, I am a leader, and it's okay to say it. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I feel
No, of
like
course not.
there's a little shift in there that you need to actually grow into that.
Even
You
now,
know?
as I'm speaking now, I'm saying these things because I think it's more valuable if I just say it as I really mean it. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a part of me right now going, bro, are you really saying out loud that you're a leader? Like, who the fuck are you really?
No,
bro? You
no,
started
it's
a gym,
being
you're
received.
really a nobody. But it's in the scheme of things, bro, I am a nobody. 100%.
course, yeah.
But I've done some things, and there is some things that I've done and mistakes that I've made, and there's lessons learned. And the reality is that I know I'm a leader because every single day I walk into multiple groups of people that are there really because of me and what I'm doing. And so therefore I am a leader by default. And I'm leading these people. I'm leading the team that helped me run my gym. That's the one thing. I'm leading even people that are on a similar level to me or in other businesses that I'm a part of and that I'm working with. I come from a point of this is my lane, especially with the videography thing. When I'm creating content, I know exactly how to say it. I know exactly what you need to say. I know exactly how to sell any product. Like right now, I'll sell the carpet that we're standing on. Right now, I'll sell the wood that's on this wall right now. I know exactly how to do it. So
Because again, you're connecting to the person.
I come with a level of authority when I speak, but I'm still humble enough to, even in any situation, I'll lead you. I won't just go, you know, man, it's all right when you say it like that. No. I'll tell you exactly why that was shit. You said it like this. Why are you saying it like that? You got to be more passionate. Say it like this. Like tell your story. You know, so I'll tell people like that. And so that's me leading them. Everything I do comes back to leadership. You've got to take the lead, man. And people really love that. They love that, man. You know?
And it's such a rare voice now, man. No, thank you for making the time, man.
Bro, I really
Honestly,
appreciate it, man. I had a really awesome conversation with you
yeah,
today, bro.
there's so many nuggets in there. And
Yeah,
this is
man.
the longest, but like most densely nugget-filled podcast I reckon I've ever done.
Man,
So
as someone who just met you today, bro, I can tell you I really enjoyed your aura. You have an aura about you that is welcoming, it's inviting, it's strong. And
Thank you, man.
I really appreciated it. I appreciated how you allowed me to bounce my ideas off you, but also reciprocated in the exact same way to hear me what I'm saying and meet me on the level that I'm at, because we can only meet people as to where they are.
Yeah.
And I just felt that I'm a deep person, bro. So
Yeah.
you must be a deep person if we just talk for like 3 hours. Like, so
literally just met.
bro, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I'm looking forward to the next time I come in.
Yeah, thanks,
All right?
man. 100% I'm keen for round 2, man.
Done.
And I hope and I'm sure people got a lot of value out of this. And man, it's literally what we've been saying, but just this connecting, this authenticity, it's fucking lacking. So I appreciate that we've made the time today.
And one thing I just want to leave off on, if it's the last thing that people take away from this, is that my opinions don't mean anything. I am nobody to anyone. But if I can be of value to people, I'm going to try to do that. And so anything that I say or do always comes from a point of value. I don't judge people for the way they live their lives. I don't judge people for the way the world is. I don't judge people who live a different life to me, but I'm my own person. I'm confident in my convictions, and I know how I am as a person. So I can only speak from my own experience, and I'm happy to outlay and lead people, happy to provide value to people, and I just want everybody to live a good, free life and basically fuck the state government, fuck Dan Andrews, get me, all right?
I feel you, man. Hey, one day, hopefully soon, I'll come past and we'll have a sesh,
Bro,
man.
I'd love that. Doors are always open.
Yeah. Hey, we might even make some content, actually, I
Bro,
reckon.
I'd love to.
Connections, brother. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Until the next time, man.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Ciao.